Good evening, and welcome to another discussion of Game of Thrones with Charlie and Westeros, LaDonna, my mama, Maester Payne, and a special guest tonight, the Don, Tony Teflon.
Yeah.
We're so happy to have you here, Tony.
I'm happy to be here, man, without a doubt. Thank you for having me and stuff like that.
I'm sure tons of the viewers are especially excited to see you for a change, too.
I guarantee you.
Always shout-outs for Tony in the comments.
Yeah, every time.
They begged us to have you. It's our pleasure, Tony.
I'm happy to be here. I'd like to thank all the people who subscribed to me and said something about me in the comments to get me up on here and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? And as I always start, you know who it is. It's the Don, Tony Teflon, House Teflon. We pull the strings.
Nice. Well done. Can I start my videos like that? Because that's about
if you want.
We should all have awesome cheers.
He's got his own channel. If you don't know who Tony Teflon is, Tony Teflon makes some wonderful videos. You should go check him out. His video is in the description, or it will be if it isn't right now. It should already be in there. Charlie, you want to hit it off?
Introducing myself, or
Yeah,
just
introducing yourself since we're doing that.
alrighty. So as you all know, probably by now, I'm CharlieInWesteros, and I normally do spoiler-free episode reviews. This week kind of fell through, but you should definitely check out Tony's videos because I'm sure he made an awesome one. Haven't had a chance to check it out yet, but check out his channel, like James said. So that is all for now. And I'm in Europe, so shout out to any European viewers right now.
Mama, you want to hit it?
Can you say Game of Thrones in Polish?
Gra o Tron. There you go.
That's that's really awesome. You speak Polish, Charlie?
Basic intermediate level.
Not
Not my first language, but I've been learning for the past few years, so.
That's incredible, and probably a little French too.
Oh, first language French.
First language French. Wow, that is ridiculous, Charlie. All right, Mama.
I am LaDonna, and I'm James's mom, and we've been obsessed for a long time, and that's how we started doing this. Hello, and hello, Tony.
The wonderful Maester Payne.
I am Maester Payne. I would say that usually here I'm putting out a new video, but that's probably a lie as usual. But we'll get there sooner or later.
And his description will be in the, or his side will be in the description, as will Charlie and Westeros too. Eli will be joining us eventually. Hopefully, he's got an invite. He is welcome to join us at any moment. Could be any second now. Charlie's doing us the favor of being up at 2 o'clock right now in the morning where he is, so that's very much appreciated, Charlie.
Well, thank you for having me.
And, all right, so this episode is called The Watchers on the Wall, and it is episode 9 of Season 4 of Game of Thrones. And, Charlie, if you'll start us with the first location, please.
Sure. Well, as I always do, we always go location by location, like you mentioned. But given that this episode, kind of like in Season 2, Episode 9, everything sort of happens in one place, and the whole episode kind of revolves around that. So I'm going to try to break this down chronologically as much as I can. I figure we could talk about things first immediately prior to the fighting starting. So if we can just talk about events, pre-dating that, prior to that battle. I guess we can start by talking about the preparations. So as they are keeping watch for the coming invasion, Jon and Sam walk on the top of the wall, and they're talking about Jon's relationship with Ygritte when he was with the wildlings. Sam basically expresses, his interest in knowing what love was like and knowing what being in that kind of intimate position felt like for a change. Meanwhile, at a nearby camp, the Thenn, I guess is a Thenn that's working, it looks like. He's scouting the wall using an owl, while Ygritte tells the whole group that Jon is hers alone to kill, and she's sharpening arrows over and over again in the hopes that they're going to go to battle soon. At least that's what it looks like. Shortly thereafter, in the library of Castle Black, Sam and Maester Aemon, they discuss Gilly a bit, who basically shortly thereafter arrives at Castle Black, having been spared, of course, by Ygritte during the raid in Molestown. And I will say, I definitely knew she was going to come up this episode. I'm just saying. But if I can just add before then, something I found kind of interesting was the fact that Maester was the fact that Maester Payne brought up the fact that he used to be in love actually when he was young too, which was quite surprising and new. I think I don't recall that ever being brought up in the books themselves, and it kind of made me wonder who that person could have been. I know he was made, or at least he was meant to train to be a Maester from a young age. So I wonder. I don't know if this was part of him breaking his vows. I don't even know if there are any vows for Maesters not to take a wife or to take a woman or whatever. But it kind of got me questioning, who that person could be, because there's no indication at all as to who this person's identity is. So, just a quick thought on that, I guess. Of course, going back to with Sam meeting up with Gilly and him kind of expressing his love for her at long last that he's been holding in, their reunion is cut short by horn blast signaling that Mance Rayder's army has arrived. Jon, looking over the north side of the wall, sees a massive fire burning, and he and his brothers complete the preparations for battle. Sam finds Gilly and her baby shelter in the kitchen, and then they leave to aid in the defenses after kissing her goodbye. So, I think that's a good place to start off. Quite a bit of information there. I don't know what you guys had to say about that first chunk of the episode. I unfortunately didn't have much time to, think too much into this whole part of the episode, but I was wondering, if you guys had any thoughts. So, any takers?
I do, if I can
James, go for it.
First of all, if I can say, Tony Teflon, in your video about this episode, you nailed it. And I think that a lot of people that have problems with this episode, it's because of exactly what you said, which is that this is 2 parts. That's what they did. It was 2 parts. And they didn't show us that that's what they were going to do, and so that's what they were going to do. So when we didn't see Stannis and it went all white, I know time passes and it passes relatively for everybody, but I couldn't help but feel like there's got to be like 30 more minutes of this, right? So, and it never happened. You could tell from the trailer it was going to happen next time, but still, it was quite disappointing on that level. So you nailed that. I completely agree with you. All right, one of the most beautiful combinations of feelings I've ever had was in this episode. I loved this episode. After I got over the fact that that Stannis didn't happen and the fact that they killed Grin, that really bothered me. But I loved this episode. I thought it was my favorite so far, honestly, with everything that happened. It was the right amalgam of emotions in this one. Not the best that Game of Thrones is ever going to do, but the first time we get to see a lot of things pull together all at once and have a huge epic battle scene. So that opening scene, this was one of those beautiful moments. Sam asks Jon, how was it? And Jon says what he thinks Sam will enjoy, and he says, she has red hair. And we think that's hilarious. We watched the show because he's like, oh, I like red hair. The first long while ago. And immediately, I'm like in the middle of a laugh, and Sam goes, oh, really? and I'm laughing. And he goes, how big were her feet? And I'm like, what? And he's like, tell me what it was like to love somebody, to have them love you. And I'm like, oh, fuck. These aren't little like puppy love kids anymore. They're about to die. They want to know truth. They will give them some life truth. Learn them. I loved that. And the part where he walks up to there's knocking on the door, and it's her, Gilly, and he goes up to Pip and says, open the door, I can't vows. He goes, Pip, open the fucking door gate. I loved it. It was hilarious. It was beautiful to see that too, especially out of Sam. And then he's like, love it, and you can tell he loves the kid too. I loved Maester Payne's situation. And I agree with you, Charlie. It was a huge question about who he was in love with. And Game of Thrones has taught me, if you hear that people had consummated anything, you should next be questioning, was there a child? So I can't help but have my mind go there. I don't know, but it's worth thinking about. And some people were positing Lady Olenna. She'd be a little young, but she would be perfect for the manipulation aspect of it. So there was something else she said. But Maester Payne, I loved his little spiel. The love thing was interesting, but it was the other stuff he said. Oh man, I wrote it down on the thing I handed you, Mom. Let's see if I can remember. He says a huge thing I'm going to note later. I'll go ahead and note it now. Sam is looking up all the things the wildlings might have done to Gilly to harm her, and Aemon's like, I know exactly what you're doing, but it's the truth. They're horrible people, and he's like, yeah, but think about the stories they tell of us, and we've heard that a million times before. It's a cliche by now. But in this story, you can really think about it, because when you think about all the things the Wall has done in the last 300 years, all the stories of the Crows to the Wildlings are horrible in the same way it's the antithesis, and that is perfectly exemplified in my mind when the Magnar of Thin says to Egret's like, I just want to kill me some crows, and he says, you've got a lot to say about killing. And she says, which at first sounds like, oh, you think you're a badass? I'm a bigger badass. And she says, I killed more people than you. And I think we kind of realize at that point that he's not talking about killing people. He's talking about killing people for the wrong reasons. And that makes me think that they're not cannibals in the sense of they're going out to eat people. They're cannibals because they're at war. I mean, it's a horrible thing to watch on the news, somebody eat somebody else's heart. What's up, Eli?
Welcome,
Hey,
Eli.
how's it going, everybody?
Rant.
Finally got that car going. Sorry.
Good. And showered, unless it's raining outside.
No, yeah, just showered up. Got the hair wetted up.
Slick. I like it. Everybody's looking good today. I'll close on that little bit. That is meant to be a broader. We're meant to look at that broader and think they're probably not cannibals. It's horrible to watch somebody eat somebody else's heart on TV, especially when you think about all the horrible atrocities going on around the world. But if it were solely a war between men who volunteered to be warring, then what's the big deal if they eat each other? Especially if they're starving. I mean, it's arguably you got bodies are sacred, but if you're starving, a body's a body. Meat's meat. Not that they're starving, but it's also an intimidation. All right, I'm done with that first part.
Can I add one brief thing, and then I'm gonna let you all talk, but I'm gonna come back and talk about some specifics. I think that this was not so much about war as it was about love. In other words, as opposed to war and peace, this was war and love, and what what motivates people to have some courage is love, either of their country, of their domain, of their brothers, or their families. And I think that love was overlaid almost the whole way through it. So that's the way I took it. What motivates you to go to war? Is it just conquest, or is it something else?
One thing I would add to that is one line I've always said, and just like writing my own little stories, is everyone, no matter who they are, monster or hero, everyone fights for princesses.
Ooh.
Unfortunately, this princess was in another castle.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm just saying in general.
Well, you know,
That monsters, because I'm just saying with the dragons, like even dragons who take princesses, do they ever kill the princess? No, they keep them and they protect them until someone comes and takes them.
You know, that is kind of the story of Mario. When I said she's in another castle, I'm thinking of Mario, but it kind of, if you look at Bowser as a dragon, kind of
Exactly.
Which
goes back to Mario. Sorry.
Which leads me to believe there are some princesses that might get killed because it's Martin. But the only other thing I wanted to say right this second was that when Sam says, all joking aside, we're going to die, I really want to know what it's like. And Jon tells him, well, it's a person, it's me wrapped up in her wrapped up in me, and we become something different. We become something better. I mean, that's kind of what I view love as. You become more than one, and one is not two, it's more. And
you enhance each other.
You enhance.
Sorry.
You complement each other. But the other thing I wanted to mention, I'm going to let everybody talk, is that when Jon says, "Oh hell, I don't know, I'm not a bleeding poet."
Awesome line.
His father was a bleeding poet.
No, he wasn't. And Sam says, no, you're not. No, you really aren't.
No, saying I think it was a reference to Rhaegar.
Oh, I know.
And that's why he's counting your point.
The quote is, Jon says, I think I'm not a bleeding poet. Or, I don't know, I'm not a bleeding poet. And then Sam says, no, you're really not.
Right. But she's saying, and you nailed, that's exactly what it says. She's saying that that is not only funny because he really can't get it out. It's funny because his dad was a poet, which I'm sure a lot of people weren't thinking of. Rhaegar was a poet.
Yes, and I'm taking the potato side of it. You guys are taking the potato. Charlie and I are going to take the potato.
Well said, Maester Payne.
Need to get Tony to jump in because I bet he's going to be shy about it.
That was
Is he
the
not coming tonight?
He's right there.
You didn't see him?
Holy shit! Where the hell? I literally know the tiny boxes. I literally didn't even know. I didn't look it down to there. I was just watching faces come up. My bad, man. How you doing, bud?
Going on, boss? How you doing?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good.
Tony, want to jump in?
All right. Well, basically, from what you said, I particularly, if I'm about to die, I don't know why Sam's asking about no woman's feet. I'm not into feet. I don't lick feet. I'm not into no honey on feet or anything on the toes. That'd be the last thing I'm thinking about when I'm about to die, some woman's feet. Maybe Sam was in prison. I don't know, but I can't call it. But me,
You're a man for his personal taste now.
You know, hey, you got to do what you got to do. You know what I mean? That's just something I can't do. You know what I'm saying? But as for the first take, the war, when he had the owl, I think that if he's still alive, I think that's the owl that Melisandre will burn down for the war. I think that's the case right there. I think that Maester Payne, when he's talking about this love for that chick that he have, I think that's more towards the book readers because they're talking like, oh, I can tell you the size of how her nose looked, or the shape of her nose. I can tell you the color of her eyes, but I'm not. And I think that's more going towards the book reader. It's like, you know, I'm trying to give you a description, but I'm just playing with you and stuff like that.
I saw that in your video.
I thought.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I thought that the woman he might have been talking about was his sister because they married sisters, and I think he and his brother may have been in love with the same sister, which may have mirrored Tywin and Aerys both loving Joanna.
Are there any known sisters though?
Well, he got sent up to the war because there was too many male Targaryens. Well, his brothers died, and there was too many male Targaryens, so they sent him to become a maester to prevent the war. And then he joined the council and everything else. And then after the people died, he jumped up over there to the wall. So I don't really know. I don't know if there was someone he loved in the books. I think that was more of a show thing.
That we know of. So.
Yeah, we don't know anything. I mean, he could add somebody. There could be somebody there that we find out about in Eli on them's book or something like that.
Well, they do make a lot of changes from the books to the show, and I know, LaDonna, you might disagree with this, but I think they're going to change some pretty big events to come from the books to the show.
I think I know one.
Do you?
Yeah.
You want to speak on that, or do you want to save it for later?
We'll save it till later.
Gotcha.
The only small thing I can speak on, because I honestly don't know where we were at, and I honestly don't know what you guys said before me.
Everything before the battle.
Maester Payne and Sam and Jon and Billy.
I had two parts, and I honestly forgot the second one already. But the first one was the feet thing. The only reason I thought that was significant, and the only reason it was put in, was to kind of tell Sam, or Sam telling Jon that I don't give a shit about the aesthetics. You know, tell me what it means. Tell me what it really means. That's what I think he was being sarcastic when he said the feet thing. And I don't give a shit about her feet. You know.
That's exactly.
You said, what was the second thing you said, Tony? I had something about that. It wasn't a disagreement, but what was the second thing you brought up?
The joke
about the book reader.
The war.
Oh, yeah. The only thing I was going to say about this scene with Samwell is, did anyone else find it very surprising that Samwell did not react at all when he was told that he was a Targaryen?
Like, Sam didn't tell he was a Targaryen.
They already knew that, didn't they?
Did he know? I thought only Jon knew.
No, Aemon says that's they took care of it in that scene by having Aemon say, "Do you know what I used to be?" And then he says, "Of course you do." That's what they took care of.
Okay, I get you. Yeah, that was the only thing. It was just a little like directing thing. Like I was like, he should have been a little more surprised, I think. But yeah, I totally get you now.
I think it was a sort of.
I felt like they were kind of implying he found out from the books. They did not say that, and it was not.
And that.
Directed, but it was kind of like he's reading all the time.
Yeah, and that was my exact. That's funny because that was my exact point. Was with him being the most book read, he would know the significance of a Targaryen. You know, like he would see it as significant. But yeah, that makes perfect sense that he would have already known.
I don't know. There's no significance of anyone when you're at the wall. It doesn't matter you're a Targaryen or anything.
Very true. Very true.
Although it seems to play a big role later on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of which, I wanted to say that Sam and Jon, because talking about that, you give up your families, you give up the right to land and stuff like that, you give up having wives, you give up having children, but Sam and Jon have what is the first inkling of them being the judges that they will be at the end of this. Because everybody disagrees. I think Tony would like to see Stannis if he does not go so far as to just believe Stannis will be on the throne, which is a justified opinion. Stannis is a damn good leader. But if Jon is going to end up on the throne, and if Sam is going to end up on his council, they are judges. That's what they do. They make major decisions. Then that's what the king does. I mean, technically, the hand runs the kingdom, the little bits and pieces, but the king makes those legal decisions, and that's exactly what they were doing on that wall. He says, well, it doesn't actually necessarily prescribe having sex with people. It says we will take no wives. That's definitely there. There's no arguing that. It says we will father no children. It's very specific, but doesn't actually say you can't have sex.
Well, James, if I could add this too, I love the fact that Sam acted like a lawyer and found a loophole in the statute. Exactly, which is what he would do, especially a Maester, because a Maester is going to have access to the history books and is going to go find out about the treaty that happened 300 years ago that says that so-and-so's great-grandson can't marry somebody else's great-grandniece. I love that, and also if you add that Sam found that loophole and then also becomes kind of a campaign/lobbyist for Jon later, I think that's hilarious.
That's true.
Sam is just like a politician.
He's a politician.
Isn't it? Well, I think it's kind of funny that Sam seems to be a Maester far before Maester training.
True.
The way he knows about
them. After Aemon gave his speech about love is the death of duty, he blew out the flame. Like
exactly. No, yes.
Did you catch the Bloodraven reference?
Say that again.
Did you catch the Bloodraven reference? Thousands of books, but no eyes to read them.
Did not connect it to Bloodraven, but that's fascinating.
And then it said, old age, Bloodraven being super old, is a wonderful source of ironies, if nothing else.
Oh my God, Maester Payne
argues to, you know, some of the ironies that we will find out later. Tywin, his kids, all that sort of stuff. Most of the stuff I have for this episode takes place in the beginning. So if I can shoot on that for a little bit.
Go for it.
First thing I noticed, which is kind of cool, and you guys brought it up before. I know I said Hodor blows the horn, but that horn was pointing at Sam, and Sam does have the horn. The first shot, the thing behind him is the war horn, and it's actually aimed at Sam.
Didn't notice that.
I don't know if that's anything.
I wondered when they did
LaDonna already talked about the I'm not a bleeding poet thing, so I won't go there. You guys say potato, we're going to say potato. When Jon's talking about sleeping with a woman, though, the way he describes it, you can also interpret that as warging. You're wrapped up in them, we're wrapped up, and you become another person for a little while. Cut to right after that, they actually show the dude warging the thing and Tormund talking about having sex with the bear. So sex with the bear, Jon's version of it is kind of linking it to warging. I don't know how accurate that is. Actually, I think it was probably quite intentional.
100%.
Sam, little bit of a nod there to the book readers when he says, but Gilly and I didn't have sex, so there is nothing to interpret. You know.
Right. In case it comes
and James mentioned that earlier, actually, and when he was talking too, when he was talking about Aemon. Yeah, I think maybe that's it for me there. questioning the vows, I sort of thought was a bit like Jamie when he discussed saving the king or saving the people, how he interpreted his vows back in, was it last season or season 2? Last season, when he's talking to Brienne.
Last
So I looked at that like that, but I think that's it for the beginning part of it. The things I noticed anyways. But yeah, the Blood Raven thing I thought was pretty damn cool. Thousands of books, but no eyes to read them.
That was perfect, MP. Absolutely, and I did not catch that. If I could add this, the thing about the screwing a bear, that was about Mage Mormont, because he has, Tormund has
You don't know that.
Well,
I was questioning that.
Huh?
I was thinking that, but no, go ahead. I didn't, but I wondered, could he be talking about Mormont?
Yeah, I think he's had a thing for Mormont, Mage Mormont, who, by the way, let me finish, please. By the way, if everybody would remember when Robb was declared king in North by Great John Umber, Mage Mormont is on that council, and she's one of the only women there, and they made a point of showing her. And of course, for anybody listening, that's Jorah Mormont's sister, who he left in charge of Mormont Island, the Mormont house, and that is Jorah Mormont's aunt. So she's a pretty powerful woman, and if you will remember, Iron Gate to Bear Island has a woman warrior on it with a sword in one hand and has a nursing baby on the other. So it makes sense for Tormund to. Pardon me? What?
You were losing your connection there for a minute. You look like you're okay now.
That it makes sense for Tormund to be attracted to someone who would be both motherly and a warrior.
Interesting thoughts. I had never thought of that, actually.
But I agree, Mom, 100%. But it can't be Mage Mormont because they've named her Sheila in the TV show.
No, Sheila is just a name for women like it is in Australia. They call them Sheila.
So that's what he meant? My Sheila? I thought he was naming her, sincerely.
No,
but that's absolutely what it is. Listen to what they say. She had fangs, but she knew how to use them. She was soft down below. He never says anything about her being hairy. He never says anything about how he got caught her. It's a Mormont, but the question is which Mormont. I'm not sure it's Mage. Tormund is they nailed Tormund in this. They picked the perfect actor for Tormund. You were talking about changes to the books. I just wanted to add Gilly never leaves for one. So that's different for what we talked about already.
I think that was to show sort of a developing theme where people get sent away to save them, which Tony actually touched on way back with his comments about Jon being sent to the wall, actually, more than choosing to go to the wall. It is a theme where, think of Daenerys getting sent overseas, think of Jon going to the wall. There are others, but Gilly, they send people away trying to save them, but it doesn't really work out that way. Or theoretically, it might not work out.
That's true.
There's actually quite a few instances. I just can't think of them all right now. Just those two main ones. Jon and Danny.
Well, they send, Danny's mother leaves, and it didn't work out for her either. I mean, she leaves trying to protect her children, and she ostensibly maybe dies, and Derry tries to protect him, and he dies, and then they're left beggars.
Nymeria, the wolf too, and there's other smaller things like that where people are being forced away to save them, but then they have their own sort of, you can't do that to people. Life still happens no matter where you send them.
Yeah, nowhere's safe.
One very, very, very.
LaDonna, go ahead.
If I can add one very brief thing, and I might be stretching saying it, but when the Magnar has this conversation with Egret, who's getting on Tormund about fucking a bear, there's something he says. It's reading between the lines about Egret not having a concept of love. It made me think that the Magnars are still protecting their women as well, which leads me to believe when Alice Karstark marries his son, that maybe that they're not so tough on their women, that they believe in love as well.
That's a good point.
The only thing I would add,
Go ahead.
just because you happen, I'm sorry, just because you happen to bring up Ingrid, and I think I missed that scene before we talked about it. I honestly hated that fucking scene. And it was only because I thought it was literally just fan service. It was trying to make us feel bad for her dying later in the episode. And I think that and hope, I mean, Tony's got to agree with me here. I think that this scene should have been used for Stannis. What the hell? Like, there are more important people to use, and this was just trying to make us feel a little more bad for her before she died, personally. I think it was all fan service.
I did.
Tony?
Yeah, I think that when he's talking about love over people choose love over duty, I think he's talking about just about main character has chosen love over duty and has died. Rob chose love over duty, he's dead. Ygritte chose love over duty, she's dead. Liza Aaron chose love over duty, she's dead. So I think they were more touching on stuff like that when they talked about that, when he said that just everyone who chooses love over duty dies, and that seems to what happened. But the episode itself, it was just to break it down in two parts and not really show what's going on the other side of the wall. You know, like when you see Lord of the Rings and you build a big war thing, they show the other side marching. They don't try to keep it a secret. They show it. So they should have showed all those guys gathering on the other side of the wall way before they showed that fight. If they were going to do that in the earlier episode. And then they would have been able to put Stannis in this episode. All this does is make it a clusterfuck for the next episode and take Stannis' shine away from him. Because all you're going to remember in the next episode is the children. All you're going to remember is Tywin. You're not going to remember that Stannis saved the wall. And they could have put that in there for Stannis, because he's a bigger character, but the producers of the show have said that they don't like Stannis' character that much, and they're just hating on him. And that's the way I see it.
Counter argument to you. I knew you were going to say that, and I respect your opinion, Tony. I think that if they had diluted Stannis, he might have come across weak with what he's doing behind the scenes, whereas when he comes in full force, he's look like a MF coming in.
And to add to what you said, Tony, because the books are written that way. We don't really know what's going on. It just kind of shows up. Both what's going on with Mance, we don't really know, and what's going on with Stannis, we don't really know. And they set that up damn well, in my opinion, because Stannis is going to show up at the wall because he's got to let them know, let me through. So, but since we're gonna get Jon's perspective in that situation, we probably won't know that Stannis is coming at all until he rides them down, and Jon's not going to know what's going on, which is how it happens in the books. But to add to what we were talking about, this is 4 or 5 massive chapters in the book, and I respect my issue. I think, like I said earlier, is that we all thought Stannis was going to be in this episode. Everybody thought it. And when it didn't happen, it felt like they betrayed. Betrayal is a strong word, but it felt like they let us on. It really did.
I just don't think that they served the character right. I don't think they built the scene right myself. I think they could have had this episode earlier, in the early episode. It would have been better. I think the last episode was more stunning than this episode. This is supposed to be episode 9, which every episode 9 leading to this part was very good. I'm not saying the fight scenes. I like the fight scenes. That was great. But I just don't like the way they did. I just think the last episode, even with 66 minutes, I don't think they're going to be able to focus in enough on what they need to do. And I see them probably doing, Jon out there with Mance and a cut scene to Stannis, and then you see his sword go up and they charge, and they're not going to show any bit of the fight. It's like they did with the Fist of the First Men, and then move on to a different scene. And I think that's the way it's going to be.
Have you seen the preview for the next episode?
I did see the preview to the next episode.
To me, it looks like they're going to do a lot, but I agree with you. They're going to, with 66 minutes, and they're putting a lot in the next episode.
You see how much they have to do in 66 minutes.
This is their opinion. Their opinion is that this is the best episode they've written, and could be hype, but I can't wait to see it. I agree with you, but in the same way that we leave Sam out in the middle of nowhere, this is kind of a beautiful thing because if we're left with the situation above the wall being that Stannis shows up and just when Jon, because here's what's going to happen, Jon's going to go there and try to kill Mance. He's going to fail. Mance is going to lay it out on the line with Jon and say, listen, you could have been on this side. You chose the other side. I'm sorry to say, but we're about to win this fucking war. I know how to break in, and I'm going to do it. And just as Jon is going to try to start negotiating, and just when Jon starts to think he's got a little leeway, Stannis is going to come in and save the day, truthfully, but slaughter all of them. And the reason we're doing that is so that next season they can set up how horrific it is for the wildlings, which it is. I mean, and they've also supposedly casting Varamir for next season, which plays on what you were saying, Maester Payne, about the owl, because that owl is actually Varamir.
Eli.
Or was it
Tony? Owl.
What's that?
Tony made the comment about the owl.
Oh.
Your comment about the owl. It's actually an eagle, but it's Varamir's eagle that he stole from. Who's the guy Jon killed?
Oran.
Well, that was clearly an owl.
Oran.
That was clearly an owl.
That was an owl, I agree. I'm saying in the books, the eagle that attacked Jon was stolen by Varamir and then used. That's the eagle that gets kicked out of its when Varamir gets kicked out of it. But anyway, I think you may have a point. And if they cast Varamir next season, it would be interesting if he stole it from the Warg when all this happens. But to finish what I was trying to say to Tony, sorry, I got sidetracked. To me, I completely understand what you're saying, and I agree. It seems like it was manipulation on their part, but it's perfect in my opinion because we will end this season with a huge bit of Stannis and start next season with a huge bit of Stannis. And we're going to get the Mel line where Mel says, "You know nothing, Jon Snow," and it's going to shock the shit out of the viewers when she says that. And Stannis is going to be huge in the first episode of next season.
I think what they were doing was trying to make Jon a superhero, and I think they were trying to make Jon the man in the episode, so they didn't want to bring Stannis in. They didn't want to try to steal Jon's thunder. That's why you got Jon's laying there with Ygritte. That was just for the lady sitting there in the war, and he's holding her and stuff like that, and Jon doing all that. So hopefully you're right, and I hope it goes down like that, but the way that they say they don't like Stannis and stuff like that, I don't see them giving the man too much shine and stuff like that at all.
I think, Ted, you're going to be pleasantly surprised.
Well, I hope so. I wish I am, but I just think the fact of the matter remains that you're not going to remember this scene after the next episode. I don't think you'll remember Stannis. When you got people that never seen the show, you think they're going to remember the children first, Bloodraven, Gregor Clegane, Tywin getting killed, Stannis, Bran. I mean, they're not going to remember Stannis. He's going to get lost in the mix, and I think if you did it earlier, he wouldn't have got lost in the mix. That's just my personal opinion as a Stannis fan. You know what I mean?
If they had brought in, regardless of if they had Stannis in at this point, all you would have seen him doing was paying the money to Bravos to and fight, which I think would have diminished Stannis. I think it would be better to bring him in as a savior now.
I like the savior, but they could have never did the Bravo scene because that doesn't even happen now. They could have.
It happens a lot later
on. And the Bravo scene, they come to Stannis. That also is something that they make Stannis look like a fool, like he's going to ask them. And in the books, they come to Stannis and ask him to take the debt. You know what I mean? They're asking him, and this way they're making Stannis look like a beggar. And I think that's something that they just don't like the character, and that's why they're doing that to him.
You have an interesting time.
Certainly, we'll find out next episode.
We will.
I think we'll follow on that next episode.
I saw you grabbing him.
I was like,
we can discuss that there.
well, I don't know. I have a couple other thoughts for this scene, and then I think we should get going to the next big segment, unless you guys have other things to say first.
I think it would we wrap, you tell me, would it be better since we got a lot of stuff happening everywhere if we all just kind of went all
You want to just address the whole episode as a whole?
Is everybody cool?
That's totally cool. Do you want me to recap the rest?
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
It was all basically one big scene.
It really was.
That kind of worked.
To do that, so that's my bad.
Okay.
The only thing I'm sorry.
Hold on, Eli, one sec. Go ahead, James.
I was saying, Charlie, say what you were going to say. Sorry.
Do you want me to recap the rest of the episode?
No.
No need? Okay. Well, I'll just if I can make one response to LaDonna and a comment she made earlier regarding the whole bear image. Originally, when I saw the scene with Ygritte and Styr and have them having their whole little, I guess, debate, and Styr kind of getting on Ygritte's case about her, his suspicion for affection for Jon, it kind of made me wonder, because we still haven't seen his own son, who is supposed to effectively marry Alice Karstark, and from what we're told from the books, they're supposed to fall in love and have a great relationship, or at least he's supposed to have some kind of sensible side to him. So I thought that was kind of an interesting parallel, considering we see such a hard man in his father, someone who's very unlike his son, from what we're told anyway. And I wonder how they're going to incorporate that future character of his son, especially considering in this episode we find out that Jon's the one to kill his very father, i.e. Styr is killed by Jon Snow. So I wonder how they're going to get Jon to kind of manipulate that whole power play. But it did get me thinking on another whole other train of thought. I wonder if they might not replace that arc by, as opposed to Jon having Styr's son marry Alice Karstark, what if they were to somehow plan the whole Mormont connection between, and this is just a completely random thought, but potentially having Jon marry, what's his face, the guy who likes bears or whatever, Thormund. Yeah, if they were to have Thormund Giantsbane married to a Mormont, as opposed to have a Thenn marry a Karstark. If that makes any sense, because they also have kind of excluded that whole cannibalistic aspect of those people on the island, the Skagosi, and they kind of incorporated that element into the Thenns and their whole nature. So I kind of was wondering maybe if they're going to switch around some characters there. Just a thought.
Yeah, I think it's possible if they do that. No doubt about it. I think that they might even. I only thing I could say about I am happy the way that they. I'm happy that the way they did kill Ygritte, because I was thinking that they might not kill her and they might give her the other role of the other wildling behind the wall, the wildling babe princess. I thought they could have used her for that and just keep her in there.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Dalla.
The only thing I would add, just because it's on the same point that Tony said, is I absolutely hated Jon fawning over Ingrid's dead body. I was literally looking at the screen, screaming, "There's a battle going on! Do something, you bitch! There's not time for this!" I was just yelling at the screen like, "Are you kidding me? You do not sit there and fucking fawn." That bothered
They
me.
did slow it down, though. It was slow motion, so it wasn't all happening.
I'll give you that.
Yeah,
I agree with Maester Payne that this was I bought in, but I think that the key to buying in for me is that I think that what he's learning here is going to be hugely impactful for him later about love, what it means, and what's important about love. But I agree with Maester Payne. They even said in one of the videos on Game of Thrones, the channel on YouTube, that they don't use slow motion much because they think it's campy. But in this situation, they did want to, because they wanted to do exactly what Maester Payne said, show that it's in Jon's mind and that it's slowed down. And I completely agree with you. My mother wanted to make the same point, that you don't do that in a battle. But we had just had a split second ago him almost killed, which is certainly as close to questioning his life as possible. But then he's introduced to a girl who he loves, who's about to kill him, and he realizes, you know what? I'm certainly not going to kill her, and I'd rather her kill me than anybody else in the entire world. Fuck it. And when she dies, he has already accepted death in his mind, and he doesn't give a fuck. And now he's like, he's going to have to watch the love of his life, he thinks, die. And I totally bought in.
And somebody's got something up on the computer because it's interfering with the train.
Yeah, whoever the background noise is.
Tony, have you got?
Someone's playing something in the background.
Yeah, is it me?
It might be me. I have people in the background talking because I'm in the hotel lobby.
Oh.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Then that's okay. You're good.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
Feel free to mute me.
The only thing I was going to say, James, is I thought the scene itself would have been much more powerful. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought the scene would have been much more powerful, personally, because I thought that the smile was very cheesy. I didn't like that. I didn't like the whole fawning over her thing. But I think the scene would have been much more powerful to speak to the nature of this world if he had seen her die, was forced to not respond, was forced into battle again, and then had to come back at the end of the battle and see her frozen corpse.
I
think that would have been devastating.
That's how.
Because then he acknowledge his own denial of her in the moment. You know, he had to acknowledge duty over love, which is exactly harkening back to what you said earlier, duty over love.
Charlie, you're the man. I saw what you did. Charlie's muting himself when he's not talking.
I do that too.
totally see what you're saying, and it crossed my mind. You have a point. I liked it better this way. I think we need this so that later, if he is supposed to be king, the role of queen will be filled by somebody, and there will be likely, in my opinion, a Ned-Catelyn relationship where it has more to do with this being necessary for the realm than it has to do with love and love growing out of it. And if that's true, this puppy love for now, so that Jon knows what love is important. Speaking of which, it was beautiful to me that Sam tells Jon, when he's asking him about what it's like to love somebody and have them love you back, he says, Jon, you're the closest I'm ever going to get. And what he meant by that was, Jon, tell me what it was like with Ygritte. But what it sounded like was, Jon, I'm never going to have somebody, a female, that loves me and that I love them back. And you're as close as a brother as I can get, and that is about the biggest amount of love I'm ever going to be able to get in this life. So you are the closest I'm ever going to come to knowing what that is. I thought that was powerful.
Well, Eli, if I can add this, in the books it happened the way you said it, and that went more to the gritty realism of Martin. But I think since they couched this so much in a love versus war thing and the impact of both on each, I think even though it came across as a Hollywood moment, I think it was okay. But I agree with you. It kind of belies George's realism.
Exactly.
I think it was more just like I said, they were just trying to make Jon Snow the superhero. I think they had to do it slow motion because it should be in slow motion because the man just got his face ran into an anvil. So I think if you got your face ran into an anvil, everything would be in slow motion after that. So I think
I need to jump in on that.
But after that, you know, I think that they have him go out. I take my sword and put it down, and I'm going to go out beyond the wall and treat with Mance Rayder. When in the books, he gets forced out there to go out there to meet with Mance Rayder. He's not the one who decides to go. And I think they did that to make Jon look like more of a superhero and the star of the show.
I agree with that, and they are trying to force that. Same thing they did with Jon being the one to suggest filling in the walls with the tunnels with stone and ice. It's not Jon that suggests that in the books. But I completely agree with you that that's what they're doing. I feel like they have to do that because we don't get to see the turmoil in Jon's mind of making the decisions he's making, so we need to see him, just like the situation with him and Alistair Thorne. We need that in the book because Jon, we know through Jon's character that he's not going to blame anybody unless they cross a line. And Alistair Thorne being a dick to him isn't crossing a line. What Slint does is crossing a line. So to me, these are necessary changes, and we are not going to get the entirety of. It's impossible to tell it the way the book's told it.
Well, you know, I really like the way they fleshed out Alistair Thorne as not a one-dimensional character. I thought they did a brilliant job of that. And telling Jon, we're going to have a truce tonight, we can hate each other tomorrow, and the fact that Alistair was a badass fighter, and that he said, and this is teaching Jon as a commander, you can't listen to the twats below you. Because if you start second-guessing yourself, you, the twats, and the kingdom is going to be gone. You got to make a decision and go on with it, which is what we saw Jon do later, Dance with Dragons, when he goes through that magnificent 2- or 3-page dialogue head about what to do with Janos Slynt. And also, one last thing on that particular comment. When he turns to Sam and says, I need him more than I need you about Ghost to Sam, that is Jon's heart getting mighty, mighty, mighty hard because he loves Sam, but he's willing to sacrifice him to save his spirit animal.
To speak with, Tony mentioned the anvil. This isn't mine. I think it was from a show called Shooting the Shit. I didn't watch it, but I heard about it, and I've watched what they were talking about, and they said there was a sequence of events that showed Jon being forged into a man or something like that. But gets his head banged off the anvil, he gets thrown through a fire, and then he kills, what's his name, Seer, with a hammer. That's the 3 things you use to forge a sword or forge a weapon.
Good point.
This isn't mine. I didn't think of that, but I thought it was. I mean, I wish I would have thought of that. I like that.
That's
something a little different. The story of the hammer and anvil and the history of Westeros is about Daemon Blackfire fighting, trying to break through. I think it was Baratheon ranks to get to the other Targaryen king, his half brother, and he's breaking through, and that's the anvil. And then there was somebody else, I can't remember who it was, that was attacking him. It was called the hammer and the anvil, so they're smacking him on both sides until he can't break through the wall. But it's like it's a play off of that, because instead it's the wall holding off both sides. Random, but the whole conflict in this episode was similar to Hamel and Anvil. Lost Tony for a bit, inviting him back.
I like
it's weird because when you watch it, if you watch it again, just look at how it's bang, bang, bang. Anvil, through the fire, hammer. Oh, and the other thing is Jon Snow spits to Seer, which is what whatchamacallit did to him when he said learn how to fight without honor or whatever. Carl Tanner.
That is brilliant, MP. Brilliant, brilliant.
That's not mine.
Brilliant, not mine.
Also, MP.
I have to say, somebody mentioned Alistair Thorne. If you watch the scene where Alistair Thorne says that speech to Jon, and then steps forward during the speech, he says, he's talking about you were right. Would you like me to say it? You were right. But there's a lot of when you lead, if you ever lead, there's a lot of twats that come around and have opinions, and they're all going to think they're better than you, and once in a while they're going to be right. But if you listen to them, as soon as you start second guessing yourself, then everything falls apart. Everybody dies. But when this is all, but if you do well tonight, we'll all survive. But then he looks straight into the camera and says, and then you can go on hating me. And that was, I mean, I don't know, but to me, they told him to do that because it was kind of to the viewer. Don't fucking hate me because you've seen everything through the perspective of Jon. But for tonight, you're going to like me. And he looks directly at the camera when he says it and then looks away. That was pretty fun.
About that spit at the end, that goes to your forging thing too, because to make it stronger, you keep putting it in the water.
Okay, yeah, you're right. I was looking at something like an ice aspect to that. I knew there had to be something else. There had to be some sort of cooling down of the forging thing, but again, it's not mine. But yeah.
But he did it with blood, kind of like a Nisa.
Actually,
Charlie?
If I could just interrupt there, I have a few thoughts, but I guess I'll just address one of them to LaDonna, because I know you have this theory about Hodor being a giant baby, and we got to see the giants in this episode much more up close and personal. I know I'm changing the topic a little bit, but I was wondering, I mean, do you still see a resemblance potentially between these adult giants and, you know, quote-unquote baby Hodor? Because they did look very, very unhuman-like, whereas Hodor does, you know, look more human, unless, of course, we are still under the assumption that he is part human.
Well, you know,
I just wanted to hear your thoughts on that.
Let me just say this: rhinoceri baby are not born with horns because they have to pass through the birth canal. So you know, yeah, I'm still buying in.
So am I. He's a baby. I'm not even sure he's half human.
I think he's half human. I don't think he's a baby. To me, he understands too much English, like or common tongue. Like he understands everything they're saying. So they go with
so does one Darwin one.
That's because
true.
That's because he was raised with old Nan. Hi, Tony.
Hello.
Hey,
I'm back. I'm sorry. The surface is spotty out here. I'm sorry about that.
No worries.
Glad to have.
We're comparing the Hodor to the giants. Charlie was asking if it's still possible that he's part giant, if not entirely giant. My mom and I are of the opinion that he is indeed a baby giant, possibly partly human. Maester Payne thinks partly human. I think.
And I would tend to agree with Maester Payne as well. Go ahead.
Yeah, and the fact
I think. Oh.
Go ahead,
Hold on, Tony.
No, please, ladies first.
Alrighty, LaDonna, it's all yours.
Is he knows the common tongue because old Nan took him in early and taught him how to speak. Now, Tony, it's yours.
All right, I think he's something. You know, he's definitely something. He's more. He's not just human. Obviously you get comments about him. He's got giant's blood in him. You know what I mean? So there's something definitely in him. The wildling chick said it when she seen him. So she's from the other side of the wall, so she's used to seeing giants. So I'm sure she would know someone that has giant's blood in him, and she says that he has giant's blood in him when she's seen him. So I think that just wasn't referencing his penis size. I think that was just there to throw you off and stuff like that. But I think that, yeah, he's definitely got some type of giant's blood in him, without a doubt.
If I just want to add, since we're getting into the Giants thing, I have never watched a television show and had the feeling of euphoria I had when those mammoths came out of those woods with the giants on them. I'm sincere. I've never had that euphoria. I did not think they were going to do it. I thought we were going to go this entire television show never getting to see a giant on a mammoth, and it meant so much to me because that means they're going to be doing a lot in these episodes that I thought they might just completely omit. I really was just very happy, and we got to watch two giants die. Well, we got to watch one giant die in the aftermath of another. The arrows. Holy crap, that was cool. We get I don't know.
That was great.
They did it obviously for scale when they had the human come and shoot an arrow and it goes nowhere near the fucking top. And then the giant comes up. But what the fuck was that human thinking? I'll just try one.
Yeah. It's only 800 yards. No big deal.
Y'all heard of optical illusions, right? I mean, am I the only one seeing this? But that arrow was beautiful. I got taken. If I could say real quick, the only part of this episode that really bothered me was the fact that Gren died, and the fact that Stannis didn't happen. But that I got over that later, and I think I'll really get over that to the next episode. Tony shaking his head, nope. But those giants made my fucking night. If it was just 10 minutes of those giants, I would have been like, I'm cool.
Well, James,
go ahead.
I like the way they did. I like the giant's foot, the way they make it look more like an elephant's foot. You know what I mean? Than a human's foot and stuff like that. I like the way, because if the guy is that big, you can't have a regular foot with that much weight supporting you. So I like the way they did that with the giants.
We had the comparison too.
The only thing I didn't like about this and how they played with the giants is to show them working so hard to get through that gate, and then show them, oh, as long as this one's angry, he can just lift it by himself. Well, then in that case, why didn't the two giants just walk up and lift the gate right off the bat? You know.
I see what you're saying, but I think the point of that was if they can rip the gate off, no one needs to hold it up. That giant can hold that. And first, I think obviously you're right that
But couldn't he just stand under it?
Do what?
If he wanted to let the troops through, couldn't he just stand under it? You know, like if that was the loophole, you know, couldn't he just put it up? One giant stands there. They have tons of them.
You have a point. I don't
stand under it, and everyone just runs through. The gate's open now.
I feel like that's nitpicking. I think that they couldn't have known how much that gate weighed.
You could just stick a tree trunk under it. If you can just lift it up, you stick.
I don't think they knew they could lift it up.
Hold on, James. Okay, go ahead. Try to keep it organized here,
folks. I was just saying that if that was the case, and it was about being access, if it was about access, then they literally could have just lifted it up, brought in 4 stumps, put them right under tree trunks, and just sat them there, and everyone could march through for as long as they wanted. I just think that they were trying to show the anger of the giant, that once he saw, because it wasn't until he saw the other giant die that he had the strength to do it. But the only problem I had with that is, yeah, one angry giant may be far stronger than a calm giant, but 2 giants calm are way stronger than an angry giant. So I didn't see the point.
I have a question to ask you all.
Go for it.
Some other people have posited that there were other gates along that tunnel that had to be raised or lowered to get through.
That's what I thought.
But
yes. There's supposed to be multiple gates in the tunnel to get through.
3, right?
Yeah, it's multiple gates to get through the tunnel. And the giant thing was kind of crazy because you just had they had the one mammoth they showed, and the one mammoth couldn't get it pulled open. When he was trying to do it, he couldn't get it. And then the giant gets angry and gets Incredible Hulk strength, and he just throws it up. I thought that they built that scene from the...
There is a difference between pulling the door off its hinges and lifting it up.
There definitely is. There's no doubt about it. Well, I guess, maybe the Giants are not that smart, but they didn't realize that in the beginning that, they could have just, maybe, sometimes I push the door the wrong way myself, so.
Absolutely.
It definitely was a bit of a... LaDonna?
I have a question. Do you think that any of the giants that died were Hodor's relatives? I mean, like father or even mother?
It's supposed to be the king. I think they killed the king of the giants, right?
The one that died in the tunnel is supposed to be the king. I mean, they could change whatever the hell they want, but it is supposed to be their king, yeah.
Who is the guy that in the books that shot the giants in the back?
Donald Noy is the one who kills the giant, and he actually is
in the back when he's running away?
Oh, no.
There's some guy in the book referenced about he's all high and mighty because he killed a giant, but it's said that he shot him in the back when he was running away. I just can't remember who he is.
Here's
I don't remember
point
that. Let's look it up.
My point is a little bit broader than that. If that were indeed the king of the giants, then I think that's Hodor's either mother or father, and it may be male or female. They say giants look alike in a lot of mythology. But my point is, I think that is why Hodor has been sent to Winterfell to protect him, because Ned knew this was coming somehow.
Mom, come sit down.
Wouldn't that be real quick on LaDonna's point? Sorry.
Go ahead.
Wouldn't that be
Eli.
a great hearkening? I'm so sorry, bud. Wouldn't that be a great hearkening back to Dany being sent overseas because she's an heir?
Good.
I've never thought about the Hodor thing, but they always send heirs away to protect them.
Good point.
Good point.
Definitely a good point. James, you mentioned something a while ago before we kind of got sidetracked with the whole gate debate. But you brought up this, you mentioned the fact that Gren dies, and you're really upset by that. And of course, so was Pip. And again, I'm always harping on this whole long-term consequences of things that happen. I was kind of wondering, what does this mean for Jon's accession to the position of Lord Commander? I mean, obviously we have Sam here, who's going to be his voucher, or is going to be his, his main cheerleader, I guess. But what about the loss of these two other characters? Are they going to get replaced with other individuals at the wall, like perhaps that young kid, Oli, I think his name was, Oli, who seems to be, in my mind anyway, he seems like a replacement for Silver or Silk, whatever it's Silken,
Satin.
Satin, yeah. I'm just wondering, and of course Dolores Ed as well. I'm just kind of wondering. Go ahead.
Ask y'all if y'all thought Satin was going to be. I think they need Satin in the television show, because we talked about this actually. Now that I think about it, because he's the only strongly effeminate homosexual in the if I'm not mistaken.
Was he effeminate, or was he just very? Because he's described as being beautiful and attractive in some degree, or very,
You're right. It is
some aspect of beauty.
Effeminate looking, not acting.
I feel like they replaced him with that other guy at King's Landing, if I'm not mistaken. It seems like.
Oh, that guy that slept with Renly.
Yeah, with Loras and with Oberyn. What's his name? Whatever.
The slave who was the multiple mole or someone. Is that the one you're talking about?
For Littlefinger.
Yeah.
The question. What was the original question?
My question was the long-term consequences of having certain characters killed off in these key moments, like with these two characters specifically, Ren and.
I was
talking to my mama. I was actually talking to my mama about my big worry for next season being that they're casting all these people for Dorne, but I haven't heard anything about the Manderleys. And I love the Manderleys, and they're meant to be played off each other, and they could, if they wanted to, combine both of those houses. But that similarly to that, the idea that they don't have time for all the people in the book. I mean, Martin can mention one person in a sentence of an entire chapter and tell you that he was moving water the whole time, and we're like, okay, he's having to move water. That's really funny, and that's enough for us, because eight chapters later, we can be like, and then he saved the day. But I don't have time.
Let me say this: that's my dog's butt. And
I was mildly distracted by the dog that came in the frame.
Yeah, I saw the dog too.
If they keep Wyman Manderley out, I'm gonna riot.
I don't think they will.
Manderley.
I can't see him taking him out. I think he's too big to take out, Walter. He does too much to take out.
I agree. Oh, he's too big to take out. I agree.
Well played, sir.
I wasn't too upset about Piff and Gren dying. I do like them in the books because I always think that they're a book reader, not of nothing Jon Snow sort of thing. Like you wouldn't notice a stampede of Aurochs if it was right in front of you, type of thing. I think those jokes that they always do are kind of like little fourth wall breaches.
Right. To me, it kind of harkened back to actually Daenerys losing her two handmaidens, Eerie and Jiri, whatever their names were, back in the day, and they were kind of replaced with two other characters in the forms of, Missandei, or at least predominantly replaced by Missandei in this kind of female associate role. So maybe they're going to have other male characters as the focus for Jon's, main associates other than Sam.
I like that, Charlie. That's a great mirroring.
I think they run into problems with Jon's ascension because that by making Janos Flint such a bitch, they can't have him challenged. I don't know how they're gonna have him challenge this guy. Or if he's gonna be challenged to be the leader of the Night's Watch and stuff like that. Because obviously, Slint can't do it because he wasn't there in the books at the time, so he wasn't such a bitch like they made him look like that. But the way he was a bitch, I just don't see them making him be able to be the Lord Commander or go for Lord Commander shit. So I think they have a problem right there doing that. You know what I mean? I don't know how they're gonna do that. I mean, I'm sure they'll figure it out. It's not too big of a problem, but I think it would have been better if they would have played the guy right and stuff like that. I don't know how. I think maybe that would make them cut Flint. That gives Jon a reason to cut his head off. That he was such a bitch hiding out. Maybe they could play it that way. I don't know.
Maybe
that's a good point, actually. I thought. Sorry.
Go ahead, Maester.
Really quickly, I thought Gilly was going to kill him. I thought when we got back in there, he was going to be dead already.
But no, Jon has to do it because that's part of his ascension. Maybe they'll get Gilly to go sleep around and make everybody change their votes to Jon.
Well, actually, Tony brought up a good point. I was actually wondering, but first I have a quick question. Is, what's his face? I'm so bad with names. Is Sir Alistair dead for sure now, or is he just injured? Because that wasn't clear to me.
Injured.
I think he's injured. They dragged him off.
Exactly. What if
he'll be in contention for? That's what I was saying.
If I could just finish that thought, because I mean, what if they were to play up his role? Because we know in the books his role isn't that really big when it comes to the elections. What if they were to play up his role in the whole election process and him as being the main front runner against Jon, and then when it comes time for Jon to execute Sir Alistair Thorne, that kind of creates the whole tension where eventually Jon's the one to get stabbed in the back by his men, and this could be kind of a catalyst point for that, if that makes any sense.
That does make a lot of sense. I think that's possible to running it like that. It makes more sense than Janos Flint. They can't do nothing with that guy.
I agree. No, I agree with that.
They really ruin his character and stuff like that.
I think it's going to go down exactly like it is in the books.
Exactly like it is in the books. I get to see Jon. Yeah, you're right.
I was wondering, does everybody who chops somebody's head off wind up getting themselves killed in this book? Does this basically happen?
Sincerely, I think everybody in this book dies one way or another.
I mean, like, Ned chopped off the guy's head, the Night's Watch kid's head in the beginning, and he got his head chopped off, right? He got his head chopped off by Joffrey. Joffrey chopped off Ned's head. He got poisoned, right? Jon chops off this guy's head, and then he gets stabbed to death.
Robin,
you know what I mean? I think the only one that has survived so far is Theon, but he's really got killed and he's reeked. So
he got something else chopped off.
So I don't think it's a good thing to chop people's heads off in this world.
If you pardon the pun.
Yeah. Classic.
I think that
takes some thinking.
That's just used because if you do it for a just reason, it just makes you into a different person. And I mean, we're seeing that with everybody that has to make these choices.
Well, I think that. Oh, go ahead.
All I was going to say is I don't think it means you are in for ultimate death. I just think it means it changes your character every time you do it.
My personal take on this is exactly how Ned, the way that they explain it, that the man who casts the sentence must swing the sword, and I think that is a play on that they are the one responsible for what they did.
Yes, absolutely.
To play on what we're talking about, I think I agree with my mom. It'll go down exactly like it does in the book. if it's Jon versus Alistair Thorne for the Lord Commandership. By the way, Dolores Ed got a vote too, and he said, whoever voted for me, that's bad. I'd make a horrible Lord Commander. And then he says, but then again, so would everybody else. But if it's those two against each other and Jon ends up getting elected, then Alistair Thorne's going to have a little bit of a grudge against him, and that's the justification for Janos Slynt to be like, it should have been you, Thorne, it should have been you. And then Janos Slynt is the one who stands up to him because Alistair Thorne respects his vows, and that makes it so that Slynt's, and that is really one of the things we'll get shown against each other, and that's what Alistair Thorne says. It's your underlings are going to disagree with you. It's a matter of sticking to your guns and hopefully not having a mutiny on your hands. And that's a difference between duty and not abiding by your duty. It doesn't matter if it's like living in a free speech democracy. It's free speech in a democratic society. You could say whatever the hell you want as long as you're not inciting riots and stuff like that. But that doesn't mean you're right. And to counter that, Janos Slynt and Sam are the perfect mirroring of what does it mean to be courageous or cowardly. Because Sam thinks he's cowardly, and arguably in certain ways he is. His dad certainly thought he was. But he's really not a coward. He tells Gilly straight up, I'm a man. And he's not talking about female versus male. He's talking about I'm an adult who has made contractual obligations I must and will fulfill, as opposed to Slynt, who's completely incapable of doing it. And
hold on, LaDonna.
Okay.
I also want to add that it's absolutely, I could not help but laugh aloud when Sam twirls Gilly around and says, I'll never leave you alone again, and then takes her to the cellar, and he's like, all right, I'll be right back. And she goes, you said you'd never leave us alone. He goes, well, I didn't say we'd stay in the same fucking room. I thought that was really fun.
It was awesome.
LaDonna?
I just wanted to add a couple of things. Number one, they have to have Alistair Thorne live because as a narrative device, when Jon does take the command, they've got to have Alistair there with Janos to be strong so that that thing that goes down just looks like pulling a bitch out, killing him. James, that was a great point.
Great cut to the cat. Sorry.
I was gonna say, Eli, MP, what do you guys think on that whole series of things to come with respect to Jon and Alistair Thorne / cowardly dude, Sir Alistair, not Alistair. What's his name? Janos Slynt. There we go.
Just real quick, the only thing I would say is that they were obviously showing Janos Slynt as a coward, and I think that as much as we hated Alistair Thorne, we actually got to enjoy him for a second because we got to see in certain circumstances, even the worst of people are the best leaders.
Yeah.
And that is kind of the point. And that's what I think, because that's why I think he gave the entire intention of the scene of him giving that, you don't tell the twat below you because, you don't get questioned because then everything falls apart. And I think the entire point of him telling Jon Snow that was to build his leadership or whatever.
I think that it's.
Finish
no,
it. Okay.
Ladies
LaDonna,
first, please.
Of course. How could I forget? LaDonna.
No, but I mean, it absolutely did that, Eli. I fully agree with you, and I loved it. But it also was kind of his little fatal flaw, because if he had just listened a little bit to his might have been able to thwart this battle. So it's both. It's both.
Definitely.
I think that it shows that just because this guy's a good warrior in battle doesn't mean he's a good leader amongst men. He can lead people in battle, doesn't mean he can run the Night's Watch. Just like Robert was a good warrior in battle, but he couldn't run the kingdom.
Exactly.
So I think Alistair Thorne, him and Giants Tornbane really stole the show. I liked them the best in the whole episode. I thought, I like him more now after seeing that episode. Just like I like Oberyn now after seeing Oberyn this season. I'm an Oberyn fan now. I didn't really like him too much in the books, but after seeing Pedro Pascal play him, I really like him. I wish he wasn't dead. I wish he played somebody else instead and he didn't die.
To counter that, they've made Janos Slynt fucking despisable in this. I mean, he leaves. He's a coward. He hides. He almost goes insane on the Tower of Giants. It's just a fairy tale. And Grin's I loved Grin coming around that corner and going like, "You need to get the somebody needs you. Get out of here." But Janos Slynt also ordered, or in the TV show, murdered the babies. In the books, he ordered the murder of the babies, or he was there telling the guy to do it. But so people know that they hate it. Janos Slynt is definitely to be hated. Speaking of Grin, we were talking about Jon learning. I forget what brought me to it, but Jon sent Grin to die, which we didn't know was going to happen at all. Jon sent Grin to die, and that's what is stone cold, Mom. That's what you were talking about. He sent Grin to die, and Grin did exactly what he wanted him to do. And Jon's realizing that that's a choice you have to make sometimes. Oh, I did want to say, I looked this up earlier. That's Donal Noye in the books, and if y'all don't remember, Alistair Thorne and Janos Slynt aren't even there. They're at Eastwatch by the Sea, in Shadow Tower, at that time. So they're not even there. It's Donal Noye that's running everything, and he's the one who ends up going into the tunnels and to fight the giant, and he ends up dying, and that's the armorer. And when they find Donal Noye, he actually has his sword through the giant's mouth. That's how he ended up killing him, and Donal Noye died doing that. But during that battle, somebody starts to get really scared, and the Septon starts to sing the Gentle Mother, Font of Mercy, which one of the lines in that is, "Stay the swords and stay the arrows," and Donal Noye rounded on him. "Any man here stays his sword, I'll chuck his puckered ass right off this wall, starting with you, Septon." And in this scene, Grin turns to the guy and goes, "The gods aren't down here, it's just you and us six," something like that. That was totally a throwback to Donal Noye, I felt like. Just wanted to point that out. And I was so fucking sad to see that Grin died. It was the biggest disappointment in the show to me.
Well, he showed that Jon showed that he would sacrifice two of his best friends. He sent Grin down and said, hold the wall, and he said, "No, I really mean hold the gate." And Grin goes, "I get it." And then he sent Sam to get Ghost and said, "I need him more than you." Jon's making some really tough choices.
Exactly, and it is quite interesting actually that in circumstances that they died, we have Jon as this very brave character, as the one who discovers his friend Gren who made an equally brave decision in death, whereas Sam, we have this constant affirmation throughout the past seasons of him being the coward, whereas in this episode it was Pip who was, I guess, the more cowardly character, and yet Sam is the one holding him and trying to be brave and, witnessing his death. I thought there was kind of a cool parallel there for this specific episode of their deaths.
Sam was super solid this episode. Like, he didn't waver a bit, really.
Mm-hmm.
No, this was a huge...
Except loading his crossbow. I thought his...
I hated that. I'm so sorry. I hated that, Maester Payne. Especially when he gave shit to him about not shooting. Are they dead? Are they gone? Is it over? And he goes, "No." And he goes, "Then keep shooting." And I was like, well, then fucking shoot yourself, man.
You need somebody, though, with those crossbows to load them. He was helping.
No, you don't.
And Sam,
I like his...
You totally do. He's got to have somebody else load it. That's what Sam was doing. You saw Joffrey trying to load that thing. There's even a crank. You can't even do it by hand. You have to do this.
You put it on the ground. I know how a crossbow works. You put it on the ground. You crank it up. It's one person who loads it, not two.
Every day. I also thought that Grin coming in, or kind of doing that little loop around a little passageway and going, "They need you below," was a mirroring of Joffrey being told, "Come back down, your mother wants you," from Blackwater. And at least Joffrey hesitated. Janos Slynt is like, "I'm out of here."
Just to
Blackwater.
Well, actually, Tony, just to bring that up, because we're going back to that whole, because I definitely think this episode was meant to mirror the Blackwater episode, and in the Blackwater episode, we have, and I don't want to bring up a whole debate again, but we have Stannis, as the one who kind of gets defeated in that instance by the last minute due to the interference of the Tyrells. Well, I think that's partially why we kind of expected Stannis to come into this episode, because it was meant to supposedly mirror that episode, and then, of course, if that were to happen, it would be just perfect if Stannis at the very last minute were to come in. But that was my only point on kind of having these two episodes tie in together. Kind of like how episode 1 of just last with season 1 episode 9 and season 3 episode 9 with a major character being offed. Go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. It was a chance for Stannis to shine, but the producers don't like him, so they did not want him to shine. And just like it's just the way it is. I should just call it Stannis Gate. That's what it should be called, Stannis Gate.
All right.
Because it's a conspiracy against Stannis Baratheon in this show by the producers.
Tony, I sincerely think that when they said that, personal opinion, when they said they don't like him, I think what they meant by that was not that I don't like this character that Martin has created. I'm going to thin him out. What they meant, I believe, is I don't like his moral choices. He killed his own brother for a prophecy he believes is true and what he thinks is righteousness. I think that's what they meant. All due respect.
You're going to start the dog off again now.
I don't think he killed his brother. He killed his brother because his brother got out of line. He killed his brother because his brother. He tried to treat with his brother. He asked his brother. He told his brother, "Listen, I'm the older brother. I'll give you this. I'll give you everything. You could be my heir." And Renly
kind of like Danny and the Masters.
And when Renly refused it, that was the end of. That was it. You're gonna tell the guy you're gonna kill him in the morning. You have over twice the amount of his troops. The man has the right to defend himself by any means necessary.
I don't disagree with you. Moral quandary without an answer.
You know.
Oh my God.
And in this series, brothers kill brothers all the time. This is not the first time it's ever happened. You know, this is this is the way it is. This is the way it is. Sisters kill brothers. You know, brothers kill sisters. This is the world we live in. But when Stannis does it, oh my God, he's just this terrible man. You know what I mean?
Nobody wants Stannis as their king.
You know, kind of like when they have Danny kill the Masters. They hate
unborn children denied in their mother's wombs.
They do. They may, but now they may not have wanted the Stannis that they know, but the Stannis that he has became.
And I agree with that.
They want that Stannis, and they have to see that Stannis.
It's like if Jon does end up king, he's not a poet. They don't need him giving these rousing speeches. Jon's maybe the army, which Stannis could arguably do. He did. Hundreds will die. Thousands.
Right.
Being a practical man, he doesn't bullshit. I would agree with you mainly on the point that they are out to get him. I think that the Stannis in the TV show is a perfect representation of the Stannis in the books, with the one exception that we have not seen him. We have not seen the truth of his regret, and he has a little bit of regret with Renly and stuff like that. But what happens to him in the TV show is pretty much what happens to him in the book and how he acts.
Charlie, can I bop in for just
with Eli's permission?
With your permission.
Go ahead, LaDonna.
I want to see all of us not do an episode, and I want you and Tony to beat each other up about Danny versus Stannis.
I was actually going to make the comment that Danny and Stannis in that sense are very similar. He brought up this whole, image of Stannis doing things for the greater cause. Well, Danny killed Masters for the greater cause too, right? And we had this whole other argument about,
that
Danny
she killed
That's
Mary
why they will
Master
both be dead by the end of these novels.
I think so.
It's possible. They
In my opinion.
Who knows?
I don't have a clue. I mean, obviously, I don't have a fucking clue.
Like Tony said, it was all about the character progression, the people they become in the end.
Yeah,
Boom.
no idea.
Unfortunately, more than 9/10 of the people become dead in the end of this.
I don't think they can. When I look at it, and I look at the history of Westeros and the way that they sing the Rains of Castamere, so they've been singing that song. That song's been a hit song for what now? 50 years. So when I think of that song being a hit for 50 years, that means they don't really wipe out whole families in this show. You know what I mean? So if Stannis died, he's really one of the only true-born Baratheons left.
Well,
I don't see them taking out his whole lineage.
My mom
also part Targ.
My mom and I are of the opinion.
So I don't see him going anywhere.
My mom and I are of the opinion that Gendry is Robert and Cersei's kid.
But he's a bastard.
Not if he's.
Yeah, I agree with Tony on that. Eli, you wanted to see something for the longest time, right?
Oh, just sorry. Go ahead. I fucking
putting you back on the spot.
Yeah. I was just got wrapped up in what you guys were just saying, just on the Gendry thing. I was thinking that I always thought that that's why Robert had so many bastards, is because that made it impossible to kill all of his heirs.
Gendry is the only legitimate heir of Cersei and Robert. I'm telling you,
I don't know.
Robert Baratheon has a lot of bastards because it doesn't feel the same
What about Maya Stone?
when you wear latex.
I think they used like a sheepskin back then, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
They did in ancient Greece.
I read an article. I read an
I
article.
remember, Charlie, just what I was going to say real quick.
As spermicide.
Eli, go ahead. Quickly.
All I call it was spermicide. That's hilarious. But the only thing I was going to say earlier is the reason I think that Stannis is being, like, I don't know, maybe cornered by fans and things like that is because of the Kinslayer thing. Because that's the one ultimate no-no in this series, is you do not be a Kinslayer.
Well,
That's the first thing he did.
My issue with Stannis is almost exclusively in that he is trusting in this prophecy.
I
It's
mean,
the influence of religion to me that is my issue with Stannis.
I think saying that Stannis, the first thing he did was kill Renly. I think he had a lot of life before that. He won a lot of battles before that. So to say that is kind of disregarding what that guy did.
You're right.
You know what I mean? And I think that if Robert was smart enough to make him the hand like he should have been, none of this ever happens. You know, and that's the bottom line. You know.
Tony,
John
Hold on.
Good point on that.
Everyone's at once.
Guard.
Maester, go ahead. Then LaDonna.
No, just what Tony was saying about Hand of the King. John Arryn actually appointed Janos Slynt to the Kingsguard, or to the Gold Cloaks, which is obviously a bad move.
Janos Slynt, I could say a thing I like about him that they're not using in this show. He's the one who figured out that Jon was a warg. And he's the one who's seen it. And he's the one who goes to Stannis when they try to get him to execute him. And the reason why they're saying he's a warg, he got the beast in his eyes. I can see the beast, the mark of the beast is in him. And, you know, that's one of the reasons why they want to kill Jon and stuff like that. And they took that away by not putting anything in there that Jon can warg. They took that part of the story out of it, and I think that they could have put something in there.
LaDonna, get a thought.
Tony.
Yes,
Tony, listen,
man.
and I really want you to hear me out. I think everything you think about Stannis is absolutely correct. I think that he could be a leader, but I think this is his flaw. I think that he is going to be so filled with regret when Melisandre turns her attentions to Jon. She realizes her interpretation of the prophecy was incorrect. And number two, he has incredible regret over the fact that he does kill his brother. We've seen him doing that. And I do think that ultimately set up the sacrifice of Shireen, and that he has to choose between love and duty at the end. I think he chooses love of Shireen over duty, and I think that may be his flaw. And I don't mean to dash your hopes, but that is my opinion on his potential either demise or stepping aside.
I agree 100%. That's 100% possible to happen. I don't think that Stannis cares to be the king. I think he'll play his part until what his part is. I think that if Jon becomes king or whatever and he agrees, I think Stannis would run with it. You know what I mean? But if he doesn't, he's just gonna have to kill him. And that's just the way he gets down, you know what I mean? So, but I do believe that what you say could happen 100%. It could
Well,
go
let me
down like
ask
that.
this, Tony. If he ever finds out that Gendry is truly the legitimate child of Robert and Cersei, would he be man enough to step aside?
Yeah, I think so. And he, without a doubt, and he does feel guilt about Renly because he always sees Gendry eating the peaches and stuff like that. So he does feel guilty about that and stuff like, you know, it's like people think Stannis is all boring, but it's not like we see Stannis in a social situation drinking cocktails and stuff. And every time you see the guy, he's at war, you know, so how's the guy supposed to act and stuff like that, you know what I mean? You don't see him in brothels hanging out, Stannis. He's always at war, he's in the snow, he's doing this, so, you know, you don't really get to see the true side of the guy. You see the warrior Stannis and stuff like that. You don't really see the other side of him like you see of the other characters.
All right. We're gonna have to shut this down for a second.
I would like to add one little thing. Stannis is more than this cold guy that he is in the book. There are some parts where he says some really fucking funny stuff.
He's great. He's great. They don't do him justice in the show like they do he is in the books. I don't believe that one at all.
Let's try to put Stannis on a hold for a little bit.
Please, let's do that.
Okay.
Yeah, we need a separate video for that. We need a separate video for that.
If I could,
Stannis and Dany versus the others.
Exactly.
What's that saying? The enemy of my enemy is my friend, or something like that.
Yeah,
Right.
you and Tony are on great terms.
We are a great team.
Hey, we gotta have each other's back. So many haters for our our faves. So
That's right. There's a lot of Stannis and a lot of Dany haters.
alrighty,
if I can take 2 seconds to talk about the fighting in general, Charlie, that'd be
go
okay?
for it. Go for it. Yeah, let's
Okay.
go back on topic.
I fucking loved the fighting in this episode. Taylor Young made some comments. He made a point that he felt like this was a little subpar. It's growing on him. But Taylor Young mentioned something like that. I loved this. I thought it was my issue with Blackwater was solely the fighting, because the fighting scene, it was obvious they didn't have a budget. It felt really tight. It didn't feel like there was a lot going on. We got the huge battle of an explosion with the ships, and the ships looked beautiful. But the actual battle on the beach looked tiny to me, looking back on it. This did not. This looked fucking epic. We got the wall. All right, we got the wall shots back and forth, back and forth. We got to see the above Castle Black, the whole third-person perspective. We got fucking giants and mammoths. I'm gonna do my best to use the word fuck much less. We got mammoths and giants, and they were amazing. We got them shooting arrows, which was incredible. By the way, the CGI they're doing with the flaming arrows is wonderful. I think it's awesome. They're reacting with the characters, and it looks real. I think they did a great job with that. The giant arrows were fantastic. I liked that they had the archers, some of the Night's Watch archers suspended over the wall, shooting people that were climbing up. I like the exploding barrels, the barrel that exploded back on the men up top. The scythe almost took me out of the scene because I couldn't tell what was going on until it happened. But to me, that was obviously a throwback to people who were disappointed there wasn't a chain during the Blackwater scene. We got the 360-degree shot we got. I was blown away by that scene. It went all the way around, and we watched all this stuff happen. At one point, we get Tormund, who I love. Tormund's amazing. We get him laughing at something that one of the Thin Warriors does, and then turns around and goes back to fighting the guy he was doing. I said that my main disappointment with this was that Gren died. What I mean by that is that's the only moment where I was disappointed, and for a split second felt like they didn't have to do that. But I understand why they did it. We had a Thin King die. We had a Giant King die. Sam killed a Thin. Sam had to watch somebody die in his arms, which was amazingly well done. Sam said exactly what you would say in that. Let me go get help. That's what you would say. It didn't matter how close somebody is to death. And Pip's like, you're not going anywhere, which is, I don't want to be alone. He knows he's dying. And Sam says what somebody would say. That was almost more heart-wrenching to me than knowing what it meant to Jon for Egret to die in front of him. I did want to say that the other disappointment I had, other than Gren dying, was that Ghost only killed one guy. And the scene where he's ripping the throat away for the second time, I really felt like, Ghost, there's other people you can kill. Because it felt like it was overkill. Like he's probably detached the head from the body that far. I loved the way they used Jon and the Magnar's size in the fight. Normally in action movies, the action star wants to appear at least the same height, if not taller, than the people they're fighting against. The Magnar is huge, and the guy who plays Jon is short, and they did a damn good job showing that difference in how it played back and forth. My mom was a little disappointed at the anvil because she felt like no way he fucking survived that. That is pretty much my gist of the battle scene. Oh, one more thing. We got a nod to the book readers also we kind of got to see Three-Fingered Hob, which is the cook on the wall. Because we got to see a guy in the kitchen fight with a big-ass meat cleaver. I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah, so that pretty much sums up the the battle stuff. But anybody wants to comment on that stuff? We lost 2 people.
Yeah, am I still here?
Yes.
All right. Oh, I liked it. I thought it was the best battle scene on TV, period. I didn't ever seen a better one put on TV than that one. I guess the guy definitely learned from Blackwater. It's the same director who did it. He learned and had probably a bigger budget to do much better things with it. And I loved it. I loved the battle scene. I thought the battle scene was great. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. My complaints is, like I said about it, is basically solely as because I'm a Stannis fan, mostly. You know what I mean? But as for the actual episode and all the action, it was phenomenal. You know what I mean? I thought it was great and stuff. Just a couple of cheesy little parts in there, but I thought the fighting scene was amazing. Tommen, it's a beast, and that yeah, it was just great. I loved it. I can watch it a billion times.
Definitely a great episode. The fighting was epic. I agree with Tony on that one. I'm gonna have to go to bed soonish, but I just want to give my own personal thought on the episode as a whole. I thought, once again, like the last episode, the title doesn't really refer to anything else aside from the fact that, there are watchers on the wall, the men of the Night's Watch, and maintaining their vows, that whole spiel, which is consistently reaffirmed throughout the episode when, numerous points when, of course, Jon meets up with his ex-girlfriend, if I want to call her that, and with Sam, the whole loophole thing you guys mentioned. And, of course, those other men, when Gren, of course, is killed off, I think that's the biggest point in which we get this whole notion of maintaining your oath as reaffirmed. And, of course, echoing back to the title of the episode, I don't know. I guess I would give it like a 9 or an 8.5 out of 10 if I had to rate it personally.
Best episode yet, in my opinion.
I like the Mountain one better. I like the Mountain in the Viper episode better than this episode by far. I think it was more. I thought the Mountain and Viper episode, to me as a book reader, was more shocking to me to see than the Red Wedding. Just because that guy's performance really brought it to life and stuff like that. And I like that episode probably the best that I've seen throughout all the seasons.
I like the way you put that. I want to add that they've done a good job of adding these. I don't know what they're doing. They add little tiny differences to make us go, what? Like the Red Wedding scene was the baby getting killed. We were all like,
Lisa?
and you nailed that. The fact that the way Oberyn acted that, just nailed it. And then to get his head to that, I agree with you, Tony.
The only thing I would add to this episode, just because I'm curious on what you guys thought of it and if anyone noticed it, and that is the kid, and I'm sure I think that's supposed to be a play on Silk in the movie or in the books, but the kid that Jon saves, I don't know that they name him in the show, but he is the recurring
Ollie Diamond.
Ollie, is that his name? Mm-hmm. Okay, well that kid, when he saves him, and then right after that, and you even see the blood on his face. And then he helps Jon. And then right after that, he is the one that literally deals the killing blow to Jon by killing Ingrid. And I thought that was a quick play on just, even if you save someone, just saving someone or having them on your side does not necessarily mean they have your best intentions in mind. And I think that may be a play throughout the episode or throughout the series, that especially with the blood being on his face, and the blood was still on his face when after he shot the arrow and he looks at him, the blood's the exact same. And I think that was kind of symbolic, and I just thought that it was a play on the fact that maybe saving someone or it may be sparing, not saving, but sparing someone's life may come back to bite you in the ass.
And I think somebody in here made a point.
Best intentions in mind.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's it. Just even if they have your best intentions in mind, because that kid just wanted to save Jon, but he didn't know he was killing the love of his life.
Right.
Because he even looked at him and smiled like, yeah, right?
Right, yeah. And I feel like somebody mentioned that this episode was more about love than it was battle, because we are all fighting for some reason or another. But that's exactly what that was. Ygritte is trying to kill Jon because she loves him and she can't have him. Jon is willing to take that fucking arrow because he loves her and stop in the middle of a fucking battle. But that Ollie was killing because it was his parents that were killed. He loved his parents. I was also a little pissed off that they kind of showed us that was what they were going to do in the preview, because you got Ollie looking directly at the Ollie looks at Ygritte and she kills his parents. Yeah.
All right. Ollie's got to go to bed.
I gotta go, guys.
He's walking right now.
You want to add anything else, Charlie?
The cleaner came and disrupted it. No, I said all my thoughts. I think you guys did a great job of filling in a lot of things that I kind of missed out on. I obviously appreciate all the thoughts. And Tony, awesome having you on here. Glad you were able to make it.
It's good to talk to you.
Of course, finally at long last, right?
Poland, buddy.
It's awesome. Sun's rising right now, actually.
Oh, wow.
Oh, really?
Which is why it's my cue to go to bed, yeah. It's actually really hot. I actually got a tan when I'm here, which is so weird because back home it's so much colder. Anyway, I'm going to bed, so take care, guys.
Good night.
Thanks for that.
Talk to y'all next week.
Thanks for showing up from so damn far away.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys, for having me, as always. Take care.
Good night. The only thing that I would add to this is I think you can't really compare scenes. I think it's apples and oranges. They all stand by themselves with that.
Did you guys see the interview that Egret said that she was the one that let the kid go, and it came around to bite her in the ass?
I didn't see that one.
I did not.
Yeah, I was surprised. I didn't think it was her that let him go. I thought it was Fen.
No, the Fen lets him go.
The Fen lets
Yeah,
him go.
well, I think this is actually a different kid, because wasn't the first guy's kids, or the one that Fen let go, wasn't that named Guyan or something like that?
It's Ollie Guyman. It's the same kid.
Oh, Guyman, okay.
Yeah, she's the one. She kills his father. She's the one who kills the kid's father when they go over there. So
Maybe
that,
they're just talking about the fact that she's a part of the wildlings who let him go, because it was kind of a plan.
Yeah, and
That makes sense.
you can't kill kids. I mean, that's the way it is. I wanted to ask you all one question. Did you see Anton Lesser's interview about being Qyburn? Because if I were the
We'll get to that next episode, so let's hold off on that till the end, Mama. We're going to talk about what's next episode later.
Okay, well, just since we're on the interview thing, just what I think I messaged you and LaDonna, James, about that interview I watched with Richard Madden, who played Robb Stark. It was on SourceFed. It's a channel on YouTube,
Yeah.
but he did an interview with them about it was about a bunch of random stuff, but they eventually brought up like a Song of Ice and Fire spoilers and stuff. And then he went into a discussion where he said, I don't know if it meant anything, but they were very meticulous about how they dealt with the sets. And like he said that he would come into places like dyeing leather, literally like blacksmiths actually pounding shit out. That meticulous about making it the way that it was actually created in the show.
Who was this?
Even Richard Madden, the guy who played Robb Stark.
Okay.
And then he said that he noticed that on set that there was so much meticulous detail into how everything was created in the actual fashion it was created, and then how sets were recreated in the way that, like, even incense that were in the books, the incense sent in the room on the scene in set was the same. Like, they were very meticulous about that stuff. And the one thing he added, and he even stopped himself before he said it, and that's the only reason it really brought it to my attention, is he stopped himself and said, I don't think I should, well, I guess I'm dead anyway, whatever. And then he said, I noticed on set that while there were dozens of people making armor, dozens of people making leather, there was only one man making candles. And every candle on set, if you watch the show back, and I went and did it, and he's right, every candle on set, whether it's the Dothraki candles, whether it's, and this is for you, LaDonna, this feeds right into your Jaime dream, whether it's Dothraki candles, anything in Westeros or Essos or anywhere on the or in the show, it's all the exact same candles made by the same candle maker. And I don't know if he just meant on set or if he meant in the actual series, or if they were just that meticulous to do that. But I just thought that really played into LaDonna's thought on, because one of the SourceFed hosts who doesn't know anything about the books actually went on to state that, what if someone just put a spell on all the candles and they could see everything that's going on in every kingdom? And I was like, yeah, you haven't even read anything, and you see how powerful that could be, you know? And I just thought that, oh man, that fed right into LaDonna's thought about Jaime and her mother and all those dreams, and the way candles are represented in the show. And I just find that way too obvious, and he even kind of stepped back when he said it, like, I don't know if I should say this, but I noticed this on set.
Well, it would be.
I just thought that may play into any type of theory.
It would be very interesting, Eli, if somebody has literally gone around to every potential castle or in important places and place an obsidian candle in the hopes that if they ever got lit again, they could be a conduit for communication.
That was the only thing I was going to ask you guys, because I honestly wasn't sure on this point, are there known candle makers in the series?
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking. I can't recall any being mentioned, but wouldn't it be very poetic if all the candles were coming from one place and no one really realized it?
Not all the candles, but important ones that were set there almost by.
Yeah, the ones in the show, I guess I'm saying. Yeah, not every candle on the planet, obviously.
Well,
but yeah, I just thought that was an odd coincidence.
Can I go back to Kyber now, Jamie? Can I talk about it?
Let's finish this episode up before we talk about the next episode. I got 2 things I'd like to add that are big. Number one, Sam at the beginning of the episode is talking to Aemon and talks about how he basically Sam's looking up all the history of the wildlings, and Aemon's like, that guy's never seen a wildling, and Sam says, yeah, but it's the truth, and they don't fight quietly, they fight quite harshly, and they could do horrible things to Gilly. At the end of the episode, now that Sam's done all this research, when Jon says that he's going to leave and go treat with Mance, Jon says it's a horrible plan. Sam tells Jon, I don't think Jon says if it goes wrong, they'll kill me. And Sam says, they won't kill you. They'll boil you alive or flay you. Well, that means that the books, can y'all see me? My camera's messing up.
See.
Okay. It means that the books that Sam is reading are telling him that the wildlings flay people. And that plays into the theory of Roose having something to do with the Night's King. Just putting that out there. Okay.
That's kind of cool.
That's kind of cool. We'll see. I wanted to add something about, what'd you just say? What was the first thing you said, Jamie?
Sam and Aemon.
I didn't mention this, but I love the fact that when Jon said, you need to go get some rest, Sam basically goes to the library. And I think that's kind of a mirroring of Tyrion, who is still awake in his cell and still thinking about philosophizing on what life means and why are people killing people. And Sam's there trying to research and how to stop this. I love the mirroring there.
Isn't it said in this episode that who sits by a candle reading all night?
Tyrion.
And Rhaegar.
Yeah, no, I'm saying that they
episode. Sam, you're right.
Yeah, that's talking about Tyrion, obviously. I think.
Good call.
Yes, and I made this reference when we did our independent video on Rhaegar, that his mother was. The mythology of Rhaegar was that his mother's womb was filled with a candle. You remember that, James?
That's brilliant. That's brilliant.
Yeah. Can I talk about Kyber now, please?
No. Tony, is there anything you want to add?
No.
We're gonna talk about the next episode in a minute. Tony, is there anything else you want to add to this episode? Anything you want to talk about that happened in this episode?
No, I think we basically covered the whole episode pretty well. You know, I think it's really hard to cover an episode like this. You know what I mean? It's not a lot going on, just that one battle scene. So I'm cool with it. You know.
All right. I mean? Maester Payne?
I got one quote from Maester Aemon. Nothing makes the past a sweeter place to visit than the prospect of imminent death.
I laughed out loud.
I say, please, Martin, start writing.
That's hilarious. Oh man, I laughed out loud when they said it in there. I did not think about Martin though.
I just looked at the quote here in my notes today and just thought of that one up when you guys were arguing earlier.
Eli, you want to add anything to this particular episode?
I'm trying to remember if I have anything that we haven't covered already. I don't think so. I think I got all the base points out. The one thing that really bothered, I did love how Sam was like his snarky comments about we're all gonna, when I forget what his name is, says we're all gonna die up here, and he says, yeah, Pip, he says this is the best. Look at all these weapons. It's the best place to be. You know, like I loved that, little things like that. But then also that I thought that they actually shat on that when, like Maester Payne said, when he's sitting beside. I know we're gonna argue about this, James, but when he sat back with a crossbow, loading them and not shooting himself. I'm sorry, but that completely reverted everything that you did before. But other than that, I mean, I loved his him and Gilly's whole thing, the way they did Janos Slint. But other than that, I really don't have anything to bring up new
All right.
that we talked about.
Then I have a question for everybody, and then we'll talk about next episode. My question for everybody: does Mance know Jon is a betrayer?
Who?
That's who? Sorry.
Does Mance Rayder know that Jon Snow betrayed the wildlings? Now, the reason I say that is there's no communication between them. There's no way for them to communicate. That's why they had to light that fire. The only way for communication is the warg.
Oh.
And
No, you're gold. That's not on yours. That just brought up something that I forgot to mention on this episode, but go ahead. Sorry.
That's pretty much it. I mean, does Mance Rayder know that Jon Snow betrayed the wildlings? Because if not, that's going to be it could be part of Jon's strategy to go in there saying, we've won it already. You're good to go. We won it during the night.
I think, I'm sorry, just because no one else was speaking, I'm going to go first. I thought that the only reason, shit, what the fuck? I literally just blanked out.
Mance Rayder,
yeah. The reason I think that, I think that it makes perfect sense if Mance knows, because there were other wildlings present when Jon refused to kill the old man. When he refused to kill him, there were other wildlings who survived that raid, who knew what he did and would go back and report, even if not the main characters that we knew.
Mance was suspicious from the beginning, anyway. So.
Anybody?
I think he.
Yeah. Oh
Go
no,
ahead,
people are cutting. Sorry.
It's my mom. Tony, go ahead.
I think that he may not know, but I think his clothes will give it away as soon as he sees him.
That is a fair fucking point.
That's a
He's
good
certainly
point.
not going to get naked before he goes out there, and he is wearing crow clothes.
I also wanted to add that there were women in the camp of wildlings outside that wall. Did you all notice?
Mm-hmm.
What, in the marching army?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I looked for them deeply, and I saw them there. There were
Yeah,
women.
you can hear them too. You can hear women's voices screaming.
I didn't notice that.
Tony, I'm pretty sure you put a bullet in my theory that Mance not quite sure Jon's a betrayer. My issue is how would I know, but there's probably ways to know. I did want to point out one thing. Yeah, go ahead, Eli.
No, you're good. Go ahead. Mine
One
was
last thing. Off topic, yeah. In the books, let me read this. In the books, Janos Slint and Thorne come back from Eastwatch and Shadow Tower having captured Rattleshirt, because all this happens at 3 castles in the book, which they obviously couldn't do. And through Rattleshirt, accuse Jon of being a deserter. And they put Jon in prison. But because of what Jon did to defend Castle Black, they won't kill him. They can't kill him. So they instead send him out to treat with Mance, which is certain death, which is why they did it, because they figured, well, that's exactly what Alliser and Janos did with Jon, sending him to Craster's Keep. This is exactly what he did. You can only take men that you can get to go with you. Do y'all see? Do what?
No, nothing. He's back. I thought we lost Tony. He disappeared for a second.
Did what I say make sense?
Yeah, it does. I think so.
All right. I'm good.
The only thing I forgot to bring up earlier is I hate the way that they did it in the show, but if that's the reveal in the books, I can't believe I never considered a forest fire. You know, as the fire and the greatest fire the North has ever seen. I don't know how I never considered just lighting the whole damn forest on fire. Like, that makes perfect sense. The way they did it in the book, in the show, was fucking minuscule, to say the least, because it was not even intimidating from a distance. I mean, fuck you, you know, who cares? Some trees are burning in the distance. But the only thing I was going to say with that is, could there be a benevolent purpose there of driving northern creatures south?
I think you have a point in that there being destruction
With
everywhere.
Right in the very beginning of the first books, there hasn't been a direwolf south of the wall in 200 years. Could that force all those creatures south? But the only thing I was going to say was, I can't believe I never considered the forest fire as the greatest fire in the north, because I was always thinking like wildfire, a dragon, something along those lines. You know, something that creates fire. I did not think of just literally lighting the forest on fire. It makes perfect sense.
I actually thought that forest fire was pretty fucking epic, to be honest. It looked huge to me.
The only point it made to me was maybe that that's why the Night's Watch has been cutting down the trees away from the wall to keep the fire back. You know, because they don't want that heat up against the wall.
Well, isn't it so that they can't see, so they can see an army coming? Isn't that just a basic purpose?
That's what I
Yeah, well, I'm just thinking that maybe there was a benevolent purpose there.
Hey!
But, yeah, definitely. That's definitely the surface purpose. But I just wasn't sure if maybe they thought of that or.
Well, I like that. I didn't think about that. I always thought it was just to make sure they could see what was coming.
All right, Mom. You can do your thing now.
Well, I also wonder if the children of the forest are going to be pissed off if they burn the damn forest again.
Well, they don't care. They haven't been out there in years.
But that doesn't mean they don't love them.
That's true.
Okay, look, one. Do you think that Robb Stark's head is going to be on Gregor?
On who? Sorry?
Do you think Robb Stark...
Let's not get too off topic.
Oh, actually, yeah. I'll give you, yeah. No, it's not. I'll give you, yeah. I like that. Robert Strong, I'll give you that.
The reason she says that is because the head of Gregor is given. You get to see the skull.
Yeah.
And because Joffrey sends the head, Joffrey says he wants the head at King's Landing, and it would only arrive after Joffrey's dead, according to the timeline. That's her reasoning. That's a fair fucking point.
Second thing is, I think Qyburn is absolutely going to either regrow or reattach a hand to Jaime, and it's been foreshadowed throughout the books.
Okay.
I think that kills his story arc, personally. If he gets his hand back, I think that kills his entire story arc.
Let him finish, Mama.
No, that was it.
Okay.
No, it doesn't kill his storyline if he is indeed the younger Valar that wraps his hands around Cersei's neck.
Right, but he does.
Can I add something to that? Can I ask some questions to that? Do you guys think it's possible that he actually strangles her during sex?
No, I think he strangles her.
That's dirty, but okay.
It's dirty, but look at the way they get down.
I said dirty, but yeah, okay.
You have a point.
Every time you see them having sex, it's fairly violent.
Especially since they put that episode in the TV show like that.
I think that if it happens that way, MP, it is the only way Jaime can get close to her after he realizes she's killed Tommen or Myrcella, whichever one it is. And it's the only way for him to get close to her in order to accomplish this strangling.
Tony, who do you think kills Cersei?
Oh, Stannis Baratheon.
Yes.
Tony's theory there is excellent.
Stannis is going to do
What?
I wanted to really...
You cut out.
What I really wanted to talk about was Andy Lesser's interview where he talks about what his role is in this, and he just goes into what?
No one knows.
He was
just clarifying that's Qyburn.
Thank you. I didn't know.
I thought you said that. If you listen to his interview, if I were the directors and writers, I'd be mad as hell at him because he basically lays out what the hell he's going to do.
No. He just says that there's a scene they filmed of him this season where he is with the mountain and the mountain is prone. That's the situation. And it hasn't happened yet, and he says that there's gaping wounds all over the mountain, and that he's still alive, basically, in one form or another.
That's not all he says. He says he's going to be in 5 episodes. 5 next
season.
Well, let me finish. He's going to be in 5 episodes. If you're getting, this is what we do on my back deck. Just bear with us.
I know, no Charlie here. No Charlie here. Where's Charlie?
Yeah. Moderator's gone.
Says he's going to be in 5 episodes next season. One of them was the mountain was lying prone for 3 hours while they acted around him. And then he goes on to say that he basically thinks Pycelle is out of there because Pycelle does not think progressively in terms of medicine. So he needs to go so the other doctors can come in and do what they have to do. And he basically says that he is an experimental Frankenstein, and he doesn't use that word. I just don't think it can get any clearer.
I agree.
Well, I've always thought he was the Frankenstein monster for sure.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think that this says that, you know, the mountain is Sir Robert Strong. I think it says it 100%. It's confirmed right there by that guy's statement. And I think that I think they should be mad at him that he said that, because he definitely shouldn't have said that much about it. He could have been a little bit more ginger about it.
Does anyone think that Robert Strong might play on the fact that it's Rob's head, the strength?
That's another
Rob
couple
never
saying that.
Yeah.
Good point. All right, guys.
Hold up, Mama. The next episode, we won't talk for a split second. The next episode, if you haven't seen the preview, which I'm sure Eli has not and Maester Payne has not,
I've seen this one.
You have, Eli. You want to talk? You mind talking about it for a split second, or would you rather stay? Huh?
I haven't seen this one. I don't watch the previews, you know.
Okay. Well, for your sake, I'll stay away from the preview for now and say that David Benioff and D.B. Wise claim that this is the best finale they've done yet, or it is the best episode they've done yet, and it's the first one they've ever submitted for best I forget what they put it in, best script. It's the first one they've ever submitted for best script, I think. To
like
the
cool.
I'm trying to find the thing. Emmy submitted only one episode for outstanding writing, and that's this next episode. They submitted a bunch of stuff. They also submitted something about makeup and prosthetic for this particular episode, which has to do with a severed ear and a shattered. I don't want to spoil anything for anybody, so
I did see one quick interview with the girl who plays Brienne, and she said we know she'll be fighting in the future because she said there's a scene where I bite a man's ear off and spit it in his face.
If you watch the preview, and I don't want to spoil anybody who doesn't want to know, because I'm about to tell you stuff that we know that's going to happen next episode. So watch your ears, okay? If you watch the preview, there's Arya and the Hound find somebody. It says somebody's coming. They show the armor, and they did it on purpose. That's Brienne's armor. You can go back and look at it. So Brienne, the Hound, and Arya and Pod are going to meet up. And the makeup and prosthetic stuff that's been submitted has to do with a compound fracture of the leg, which is most likely the Hound. So it appears from the evidence as if Brienne and the Hound are going to have a fight where Brienne bites off his ear and he ends up with a compound leg fracture after they fall down a hill. That has to do with I've got a website I'll put up that has compiled general amounts of evidence, but so Qyburn's going to meet dying Gregor Clegane. Jon Snow is going to meet with Mance Rayder. Stannis is going to get involved. Tyrion's going to escape with Jaime, kill Shay and Tywin. What do y'all think about this Cersei and Jaime thing? Obviously Cersei's bucking her dad. She says something about how could I have thought any differently? Someone so obsessed with their family certainly would have no idea what actually is going on with their family. And then you get Jaime and Cersei kind of having this intimate relationship thing. Does anybody have a clue about that?
I took it to mean that was the last gasp for it. Cersei tries to be with Jaime, and Jaime's had fucking enough.
About the next episode, I just think it's so much to be in the next episode. I hope it is the best episode. They have the stuff to work with, so I hope it is. But you know, I just think they have a lot to deal with in the next episode, or a lot on the table that they have to deal with.
Yeah, that's what I don't like is that they seem to turn this into the last episode has to be a clusterfuck.
Hold on, man. Say that again, Eli.
Oh, just that the way that they've played this out with, especially with leaving Stannis out of the last episode, not bandwagon with you, Tony, but with him being left out of the last episode, it really leaves them, especially if what you ran down in the last review we did, if all of those things happen in the finale, including Lady Stoneheart and the children and all of those things, it is going to be a fucking clusterfuck. I mean, it's going to be ridiculous. It's not going to make. It's going to make a bit of sense to book readers, but to show watchers, I don't think they're going to like it because they're going to be jumping from storyline to storyline.
They're going to do 66 minutes. All they need to show is Jon talks to Mance, the army invades anyway, and Stannis shows up. That's 15 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Bran shows up at the wall, and there's a white attack, and Bran walks inside. That's 15 minutes. It meets the Green Seer. So there's 30 minutes. That is half the episode. But Jamie meets Tyrion, and Tyrion climbs up. We don't see him again for 15 minutes, another episode, and then he kills. To me, it totally fits into the episode. I understand that it feels like it's a whole lot. But if they think this is the best episode yet, and by the way, they say that not because of the stuff that's in it, but because of the writing, to me, this is going to be the best episode the TV show watchers with non-book readers have ever seen in television ever. I'm sincere.
I agree.
I haven't seen it.
I hope it is. I think it could be, but they just got all that stuff you just said, plus they got to do Dany. You know? And I don't know if they're going to show a White Walker. They usually show some type of White Walker at the end of the season. I don't know if they're going to do that again.
They will be a White Walker battle with Bran.
Yeah, so you have that, and then you got Blood Raven. They got to show that with Bran. You got to show the Children of the Forest too. They got to get that done. You know, you got to have Varys in it with helping get Tyrion out. Jaime threatens Varys and stuff like that to help him get him out of there and stuff like that.
It's a lot.
I just feel like.
What you're saying?
If you really hold on a second. If you really
Tony was in the middle of talking. What'd you say, Tony?
No, go right ahead, please.
No, he's done.
Tony, keep going, baby. Keep going.
No, I'm fine.
If you really look at the interactions that are really character-driven, not war-driven, but character-driven, they only last about 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes. That's different little things they can do, and I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised, Tony, about how they handle Stannis.
I hope so. But just the 2-minute thing scares me. I just don't want them to do what they did to, what they did at the Fist of the First Men. I don't want them to do what they did, like that, and just don't show it. Just do like a little clip thing and it's over and that's it. I think they could have did it much, a bigger scene of it and stuff. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'm hoping for the best. I think it's going to be a great episode, but it's just so much stuff to get to.
It is possible they do a Ghost of Renly sort of rehash thing where they just come in at the very end and
they've been known to do this, mess things up. I mean, look, the House of the Undying scene should have been phenomenal. Phenomenal. That should have been one of the best scenes you've ever seen in this show, and they ruined that scene. They ruined it. They did it in 2 minutes. They had her walking around in the tunnel and a little fire underneath the armpits, and that's about it.
They did put Snow on the throne.
They could have did that whole. They could have did that whole episode of the House of the Undying. It would have been phenomenal. I would have rather seen that.
You think
a lot of people a lot of book readers and me are disappointed about what happened with Dany in the second season. There was so much they left out that they could have shown specific, especially the visions. They ruined potential.
Well, and now show watchers literally don't care about Dany. Like, while they should, they don't, like, I think show watchers are kind of, oh, damn it, we lost them.
Must have gotten a phone call. I'm inviting him.
Yeah, I think their show watchers are kind of, like, dulled out to Dany's storyline just because they don't develop it enough. Like, there's just so many questions about her motives and things like that that I just feel like it plays against the emotions we're supposed to have for that character.
No, I disagree. I think especially when she sent Jorah away, people were really like, man, I just think there's so much to do, and as book readers, we know how in depth it is. I think that they've got to skim, and it's a visual art. I think they're doing the best they can. I'm pleased with it.
I can't fucking wait for this last episode.
Agreed.
Of all episodes, this is the one I've been waiting for, man. Yeah. And it's on Father's Day. Name the children. Hey,
I refuse to let my girlfriend watch these videos, and she is reading the books, but she has not read the third one yet. She watches them still without permission, so I have to. I thought y'all said something about Catelyn. I thought Catelyn. Yeah, Catelyn's fucking dead. Yeah, Catelyn's dead. Don't watch those videos. That's pretty much the conversation.
Stop it.
So I can't wait till tomorrow when she watches fucking Bloodraven. I've also talked about Bloodraven to her, and she's like, well, "That's interesting. He lived 100 years ago." Yeah, something like that. Oh, that's interesting. I can't wait. I can't fucking wait. I don't know what happened to Tony.
Yeah.
Tony. All right.
All right.
I don't want to leave without.
We got to at least get a peace outs going on.
Does anybody want to bring up anything they wanted to mention about next episode or anything?
Or
this episode.
There's a crossbow in that preview for a 1 million.
I saw that. I went back and looked at it.
You made me look at it. I didn't notice it.
And I didn't notice it until my mom told me. So I have to go back and look at it too. And we all know that there's the Shay scene that hasn't been in the TV show yet of her laying on the bed, which they can't show in the preview. So.
Charlie's going to be unhappy. Shay is going to die.
Did they show that in the preview?
Yeah, a
preview for the season.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, I wondered if they were going to throw that in the season or not, if they were going to leave just the kind of the culmination of his trial as Tyrion's thing, or at least how that plays out, and leave the Shay thing out, but I'm glad they're going to bring it in.
Tashia Dixon asks if y'all think they're going to show Theon's father dying in the next episode. Balon.
They didn't in the books. They'll just make a reference.
Yeah, it would become way too cram-packed this last episode.
I thought that they were going to because of children, but that involved Stannis being in this most recent episode, which obviously didn't happen.
Can I throw one thing in? I watched a great multi-episode thing on YouTube the other day of the Bronte sisters, which was really good. It was a BBC thing. This guy going, oh my God, I know this guy. Who is this guy? It's Balon Greyjoy. He played their father. Great.
That's awesome.
So is it
Sorry, this is a movie about them? Sorry, James.
No, you're good.
No, this was a movie about the Bronte sisters, or like?
It was a BBC production over several. It's 2 parts, several different sections.
Okay.
And it was really good about what happened to the Brontes playing Balon Greyjoy as their father. It was lovely.
Is she cutting out for everybody else? Oh, never mind. Just came through. That was a weird delay, but sorry.
It's a good thing we've got monopolies for the internet service providers. That way we know who we're going to get. So I don't know if you have to deal with that anymore, Maester Payne, since you're not in the U.S. right now.
Internet's a fucking fantastic thing.
Probably fairly similar here, I imagine.
Nope.
No?
All right. I've been inviting Tony.
There's internet connections on the planet, and we pay far more for them than anyone on the planet.
I got sidetracked, and I shouldn't have brought up the topic, but I agree.
Yeah, sorry.
So I've been inviting Tony. He doesn't seem to be coming back. Is there anything y'all want to add? Should I be going through questions right now?
May as well. I mean, if we're gonna wait, if you guys aren't busy, if you guys want to wait and see if we can get Tony back.
Sure. Hopefully, he can join.
That's fine. This is like our earliest episode ever.
You're right.
Yeah, what are we at now? I haven't even checked the time.
It's got to be 2 hours and 15 minutes about.
Oh, that's the quickest we've ever done this.
Somebody asks if wargs can communicate and therefore tell on Jon. I guess that's theoretically possible, but the book has never said that's definitely possible.
Wouldn't they have to technically warg Jon?
No, they could use, say the Thin Warg sees Jon, or the Thin Warg tells a Warg in Mance's camp, the kids abandoned us. That's all. Does that make sense?
I thought you meant the fact that he was a warg.
Oh, okay.
Like, yeah, okay, my bad.
If I can add this, I want to know if the Stark children can communicate with each other.
That's a great question.
It seems like they just more so sense each other, right?
They do.
Like feel, yeah.
They know they sense the other wolves, but
And
like,
almost
Jon thinks that Bran and Rickon are dead still, doesn't he?
That's a good question. I think we're left with the possibility that that's true. I don't think that we know for a fact whether Jon knows or not.
And then the next question is, if Sansa's wolf is dead, can she still have some mind communication with the other Stark children?
We had a viewer named Taylor ask if anybody thinks that in a previous episode, Cersei says Maester Payne is telling Cersei about the power of poison. 1 drop will do this. 2 drops will do this. 10 drops will, and Cersei cuts him off and says, "I know what 10 drops will do." How does she know what 10 drops will do? This is before the end of the 2nd season when she almost kills Tommen. So how does she know what poison will do? Is that meant to tell us about Jon Arryn? Or is it meant to tell us about her killing somebody else?
I just think most people. I think most people know if you give a child or an adult 3 bottles of Tylenol, it's going to kill him. I mean, I don't think.
But don't you think that they wouldn't have put that in there unless it meant something more, Mama? And we lost her. Okay. Yeah.
I think it's an idiot. The only thing I would say is, I would think maybe either the instructions she gave to... No, that actually doesn't make sense now that I'm thinking about it. I was going to say the instructions she gave to Lancel about what to put in Robert's drink, but that wouldn't make sense because she just wanted to dull his senses, not kill him.
That's a good
so
point.
That wouldn't really play. 10 drops doesn't play. The only thing I could think is Jon Arryn, but then isn't it already told to us that Peter Baelish is the one who did that?
Yes, through Liza.
Yeah, so that's the only thing I could think. But I definitely think she would definitely know what it does by, I guess, I don't know, preparing herself for situations.
Do we know what poison that?
Poison to the kid.
What'd you say, Maester Payne?
Sorry. Do we know what poison they're talking about? I forget.
Tears of Lys.
Okay. Is it possible it's abortion?
That's the moon tea.
I guess it's
possible. It's the
tea is supposed to be the one that does abortions.
I mean, I'm not sure. I'm just hypothesizing. It's either killing somebody or maybe, like, 10. Is 10 the correct number? 10 seems a lot.
Yeah. I honestly don't know.
Yeah, 10 was the correct number.
Yeah, that just seems like such a drastic change from 1 to 10, you know. I mean, yeah, 10 shots of penicillin will kill somebody. you know, too much of anything, you know.
There we go. All right, I'm scrolling down here. Or you sound like you were going to say something before you headed out, Mama. What was that?
I just think it's probably. I think that was just showing that Pottsell's an idiot. That's all I wanted to say. Everybody knows. If much of that shit, they don't wake up.
That's funny. Yeah, it's kind. Yep.
All right, I don't think he's coming.
Yeah, no, sorry, I didn't mean to have everybody hang around for no damn reason.
No, it's a good thing. I'm looking through the questions, but I'm not seeing any real questions.
All right, baby, I'm gonna go to bed. I love you guys. Had a great time.
I love you, Mama.
Love you, LaDonna. Always the blast.
I really enjoy it, guys. Have a great week.
You too.
Good night.
Disconnect me, James. I don't know how to do it.
My pleasure.
My pleasure, he says.
I love you, Mama.
That's so funny.
Oh, there's Tony. Mama. Mama, come here.
Get back in
There's,
here.
Welcome back, Tony.
Can you see me in this? Are you?
Sounds good, too.
Yeah. Are you on the phone?
I'm still here.
Is Tony on a phone now?
No, I was.
Last time.
What'd you say, Tony?
I said I was on the phone. Now I'm on this tablet that I had for like 20 years.
What was the last thing you remember us talking about? You know?
I heard you. I was watching you while I was trying to charge my phone, and I heard you talking about the Tears of Lies.
Yeah,
you got anything on that? I would just think that, you know, a lot of people in Westeros probably know about the Tears of Lies and stuff, like maybe know about poisons and stuff like that. So I think that's why she would know about it, not that she would have anything to do with the death of Jon Arryn.
Okay, and that's kind of what I'm saying. I think you may be right, Tony, and I think that may be a fair point.
You guys good?
Yeah, I don't know what that was.
That was weird. That was the first time. Like, I didn't touch anything. It just closed everybody out.
But it did for me, too. Maybe Google's having issues. That would explain.
Yeah, I wondered all the drops. It's a little odd.
All right. Let me make sure we're still on YouTube.
Yeah, that's a good point. We may just be talking to each other.
I brought in some random links I'll put on the bottom of the video once it's done, but I got a picture of live events. I got a picture of somebody mentioned in the comments that, yeah, we're good. Somebody mentioned in the comments that Tony, that there's a picture somewhere of, what's up, Tony?
What's going on?
Martin smashing characters, which I have. I also have How the Lion King Should Have Ended, which is reference to Game of Thrones. There's also apparently a Mourn Game of Thrones characters virtual graveyard where you can put a flower down on some characters, so that's fun. George R. Martin finally started a Twitter account. It's actually George R. Martin, so I'll link y'all to that. And I've also got articles.
You still feel like he hired somebody.
Oh, I bet you're right on that.
I just heard those interviews about how he doesn't want to be involved with that. He doesn't like it. You know, I just find it hard to believe.
Yeah, I can't see him doing whatever. George R. Martin. I can't see him doing that, sitting down doing that. I can't see my mother doing that, and she's younger than him.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and the one thing is, as a writer, I don't think he wants to put anything out there that he can't think about and revise for the next 20 minutes.
Probably
you know,
right.
and then put it out there, and instantly everyone gets to judge it. He's worried about that, especially in his position.
Exactly.
I can't believe. Did everybody's system just shut down? Because that's what happened to Eli.
I think.
Yeah, mine just shut down.
Weird.
That was,
I think everyone.
Yeah, that was crazy.
So I'm gonna go down the line, and I want to hear how, on a scale from 1 to 10, how good was this episode, and a scale from 1 to 10, how much do you think? How good do you think the next episode is going to be? How excited or how good do you think the next episode is going to be? Just explain how. I'll start. I think this episode is a 9.9. It's about as good as you get on television, honestly. To book readers, it was a disappointment for one reason or another, and I also think some people who are more into the intrigue didn't quite buy into this episode. But I think this may be one of the best. Next episode, I could not be more excited. I'm literally out of my mind with excitement. Who wants to go next?
I'll go. I think that the episode was. I'm going to look at it as a two-part episode, so it's hard for me to judge it as that because obviously they split the thing in half. So I have to go and look at it more as a two-part episode. But so I would like to judge both episodes together more than just one episode by itself. But if I had to just give this episode by itself, the battle scene as a non-Stannis fan and just the battle scene and everything else, I would probably give it about an 8.5. But the fact that there's no Stannis and everything, I got to drop it down to 7.
Okay. What about next episode? I bet you're excited.
I think I just hope that it's not bouncing everywhere like Hubert and they block, and you know, and they just take away.
Great drop, by the way.
I just wish I just wish they would just, you know, just it's a lot to do. Bloodraven is a big character. You're just gonna show the guy sitting there and really not get too involved in it, and then just leave people hanging like that. I hope they do really good on it, and I'm looking forward to seeing it, obviously, and stuff like that. But I really hope they do it justice and stuff like that. It's good, but I'm nervous about it.
Remind me how much information we have about Bloodraven, so that when we meet Bloodraven, do we know what he is?
From the show?
Like no.
From the books, no. I don't think so. You don't know anything about him.
No, if you haven't read the Dunk and Egg stuff, you wouldn't know anything about him in the books and stuff. Like, you would have to read that stuff to know who it is, to put that together.
And now that they put the Night's King in an episode, I imagine that people are going to be kind of comparing the two, at least to some extent.
I think that they may, like next season, they're going to be so far ahead. I think that they may be, you know, they're going to be next season, and after the season after that has to be all wins and win. They may be, I mean, next season you got to have Stannis take the march, and then you're going to have him marching. You may have the pink letter next season. It's possible they get that far into it.
I think they absolutely do next season. I agree with you. Jon will die at the end of next season, I bet you.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that.
I want to answer your question before we leap. I would give this a solid 9. I am anticipating next season to be a 10.999999.
Next episode?
Episode. Sure. I will surpass everything we've ever seen. And if I can say this, I have always been a mega reader of supernatural and horror stuff, and I cannot freaking wait for Lady Stoneheart and Bloodraven, because those are the stories I want to see. I love horror and supernatural, so bring it on.
And the motherly thing. Lady Stoneheart, go on now.
The horror and supernatural probably relates to the motherly thing, because it's pretty hard. I'm really...
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's
it. If I could go next, the only thing I would say, my overall rating for this, I'm gonna go a little, not lower than Tony, but I'm gonna go low. I'm gonna go 8, because simply, I thought that storytelling-wise and the way it was character progression, it was a 10. But I thought that acting-wise, shoddy at best. I mean, I honestly, as much as I liked his character, the way they transformed him, I didn't buy any of Alistair's speeches. I didn't buy Jon's lines. I didn't think it was acted well. Even a lot of Sam was the best actor in the entire episode, or Pip, who died. But I just didn't think it was that great as far as how well it was acted. And then as far as the next episode, I think it's going to be very clustered, but I do think it's going to be a fantastic episode. And if they're that adamant about how great the writing of the episode was, I can't fucking wait to see what we see the next episode. I just think it's going to be mind-blowing. But I honestly, this episode was great. The action was some of the best we've ever seen, but not the greatest we've ever seen, and there were a lot of tiny little bits I didn't like. 8 is mine for this.
Yeah, I would agree with Eli on the 8 rating, but I disagree with him on Thorin and Jon and things like that. I thought it was great. I liked watching it. Next episode, I definitely believe is going to be a 10. And that's just because everything that has to happen. I mean, I think it's got to be great.
I think you may be
right.
No, Tony, go.
I think it has to be a 10 the next episode, because this is what basically the fans of the books would say is the best book of the series. This is their best material they have. So if they can't make this a 10, then it kind of scares me for the rest of it and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So I hope that they do it, because this is the best book everyone's had in the series. This is the best, most shocking stuff that happens in this book, in this in this whole one season. So I hope so. I hope so.
That's a fair point.
I believe they even agree with that too. Like this is their high point. They're kind of worried about seasons to come now, right? Like what do they do to keep us all?
Yeah, that was
at this point, you got to think that they don't know where the story goes. You know, like they know the ending. Well, they know the ending. They don't know everyone's intricate details and like how they're going to write it. You know.
True.
Well, I guess they may have probably at this point probably sat down with George and he's ran them through everything. But
considering how George writes, I agree with you 100%, and they have. But I agree with you also that the go-betweens aren't 100% connected, and if they push themselves. I'm of the opinion that they do. It's a fucking mosquito. I'm of the opinion that they do. The next season completes us through the 4th and 5th books for the most part, and arguably pushes into Winds of Winter a little tiny bit, which means we need those books out before this, and especially with Bran's shit because he's there. I mean, what else is there? And Sansa. So. That means that 2 more books after that, that's 2 seasons at least, maybe end with like 3 movies, or do 3 seasons, especially if they give Martin what he's been waiting on, which is 13 episodes. But either way, we need these 2 books out soon. Maester Payne, what did you say a second ago? I forgot. You said something I wanted to comment on.
Say again? I missed it.
Something I wanted to comment on, but I can't remember what it was.
From what I just said?
Yeah.
Next episode will be a 10. This one was 8, and I disagree with Eli on the Jon and Thorin scenes. Yeah, the acting, I guess, general.
Awesome. Mama, you want to do it?
Okay.
Yeah.
Here's what I've already told you what I think the ending is going to be at 10.8, but I agree. Next season, they're going to whip through the rest of 4 and 5 and absolutely bring in some Winds of Winter, at least with Sansa's story. Which leads me to believe this. Let me make a prediction. We had a great end of first act with the Red Wedding. I think this might be the end of when Dany rides the dragon at the end of the 5th book. That's the end of the 2nd act. So, looking at it from theater terms, which I majored in English, I think the last 2 books are going to be unbelievably magnificent and jam-packed. So, they've got to make the next season tight and bring in the really important scenes that are going to draw the non-book readers in, so that the last 2 or 3 seasons are going to be unbelievably epic, and I think they're going to surpass anything we've ever seen, ever, yet, on TV, movies, books, and I think it's going to be magnificent. That's my opinion, and you can cut me off now. I'm going to bed, James. I love you.
No, you're great. LaDonna, before you leave, I have a question for you, just because you said the theater thing. You probably know the rule about, it's someone's law about putting the gun on the wall in the 1st act, and it has to be fired in the 3rd.
Chekhov's gun.
Yeah. Chekhov's gun. Yeah. What do you think is Chekhov's gun? Like, what was there in the 1st act that has to play out in the end?
Yeah, well, we know that it's the wall. That's the obvious.
Yeah, that's true.
And the other non-obvious is that there's a mythology that we have been thought to understand, which is complete bullshit. So
right.
the gun is going to be blowing that away and realizing that it's much deeper and it was a lie. It was all a fucking lie.
Oh,
It's
answered
almost
it
like
just the way I wanted.
everything in this world. It's almost like everything in this world is Chekhov's gun, but it's also all a red herring.
I think so.
Exactly. Oh, sorry.
All right, everybody. My mom's going to bed. It looks like this might be it. Tony Teflon, you are the man for joining us. I cannot tell you how appreciative I am. And if you'd like to be there tomorrow or next week, please join us. It'll be the last of the season. It'd be wonderful to have you with us. Again, Wednesday at 8.
I would like to say thank you for having me. I would love to be there. As I said in the comment, this is the most fun I ever had doing any video. And thank you for having me. Yeah, I really do appreciate it and stuff like that. That ball, and actually, you are actually the first people that I've ever really actually got a chance to talk to the books about. So.
Oh, that's awesome! An honor. Seriously, Tony, an honor.
What a delight! What a delight!
And Maester Payne and Eli, you know how much I love you. You're wonderful.
Always.
Like my mom and I would never have had. Seriously.
You guys' family is just the best to me.
Y'all should come over. Y'all should come over. I'll cook y'all some food.
Good chatting with you, Tony.
Nice chatting to you. Where are y'all from? North Carolina? That's where you live?
South Carolina for me and my mama.
You're in South Carolina?
For me and my mama, yeah.
Oh.
Nice.
South Bend, Indiana here, right? I can spit on Notre Dame.
I grew up in Virginia for 30 years. I've lived here for 30 years in South Carolina, so I'm a Southern girl.
I actually might be, just to let you guys know, I might be moving down. My brother lives in North Carolina, right outside Charlotte. Might be moving down there here soon.
Well, then we might actually have to get together for a video.
Yeah, exactly.
Where are you, Tony? Where are you?
Me?
Yeah.
Right now, I'm from Queens, but I live in upstate New York. But I got my whole family's from North Carolina.
Oh,
and stuff like that. So I was supposed to. I'm actually it's in a debate right now whether I'm moving down to North Carolina right now and buying a house down there.
We're
right
in the
now.
same boat.
You know, it's up in the air right now. So I'm trying to figure it out with my kids and stuff like that.
North Carolina is a wonderful. It depends on where you live, anywhere you go. But North Carolina's got some beautiful places and some, again, depending on where you go, wonderful schools, wonderful people.
Mountains and beaches are hard to find in one state.
Down south has got the best food in the world, so you know that's what I'm all about. And stuff like that. The best food, collard greens. You know, agree with me, baby.
Oh,
you know,
deep fried corn on the cob.
It's good to be back in the South where sweet tea is healthy and macaroni is a vegetable.
There you go. There you go.
The vegetable.
If you make it down this way, I make a hell of a great collard green pot.
Yes, she does.
Uh-oh. You see, you're talking to me.
No, now Tony's moving to North Carolina. We know it now.
That may have sealed the deal right there. I may have put it over the top, right?
All right. Thank y'all so much for joining us. And we'll be here next week again, Wednesday at 8 o'clock. And it looks like Tony will be joining us. Of course, it'll be Eli Knight, my mama, Maester Payne, Tony Teflon, and CharlieInWesteros joining us. Charlie should be back by next week. Thank you so much for joining us.
Always a blast. Have a great one, guys.
Love y'all.
Peace out.
Bye-bye. Miss you.
Miss you. Yes, that's a great exit. I'm out.
That's one of those, like when you're sleeping with a girl and you call her the name that's in the back of your mind. That was sort of love you, miss you.
Yeah. Do y'all ever have the conversation? Will y'all ever have the conversation over the phone in middle school where you're used to talking to your parents, but you say I love you to, and you get off the phone with a friend and you go, all right, bye, I love you, and you hang up and you.
We've all done that.
You realize your mistake after the hang-up. That's the worst part. It's after the hang-up. You're like, oh, shit, what do I call him back and tell him, hey, bro, I don't love you?
I overstepped my bounds. I apologize. Let's go out for a date first.
Later, guys.
Let's
And I
go on
will
a
miss
first
you
date
before next week. So see you then.
Thank you, Mike.
Have a great one, guys. Always
Bye,
a
everybody.
blast.
Good talking to you.
Good night, folks.
Bye-bye.
Night. It's me. Hey, peace out. And
Bye,
thanks for
Ted.
having
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. If you have me again, I promise I won't talk about Stannis as much.
You can talk about Stannis all you want. You're here because we respect your opinions, and your opinions involve a lot of Stannis. So you'll do it. It's awesome.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I really do. I really do. And it's like I said, it's the best time I ever had doing this.
That makes me really happy, Tony.
Yeah, have a good night.
You too.
And a blessed day tomorrow.
Too.
And I love you, Mama.
Always, darling. Good night.
Night, Mama.
Night.